All right.
And we'll just kind of BS
Cool.
here. I like to, same thing as last time. I don't know if you remember. I just kind of like to BS for a couple minutes, kind of let everybody kind of file in here. And
Yeah. Yeah. We can revisit that how young I look conversation so I can actually put a plug out there.
yeah. So like what we were just saying, I'll go ahead and repeat it. I don't care. So my guy, I mean, am I allowed to say how old you are? Is that fair?
Yeah. It's public information.
So you said 48 years old. My guy looks a day over 35. So
I'll take it.
That's impressive.
Hashtag legacy health. Keep me looking young.
So what do they got going for you? What are they doing?
Hormone optimization therapy is like key. I mean, it's the biggest, most important thing for men in their 40s. Actually, we're finding men in their 20s now with low testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
So be able to get in front of that and keep people out of pre-diabetic stages and just ultimately keep you healthy and vital and all the good stuff. There's a huge misunderstanding about what testosterone therapy can do for you. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're taking steroids, you're gonna die."
Oh, dude, don't even.
If you eat a bottle of aspirin, you'll die too. Just so you know.
Yeah, right. You're gonna sit there and tell me that as you got a lip full of chew? I mean, come on.
Exactly. It's medicine in moderation. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened, and when done properly, when managed by a physician and blood work is done and things are checked regularly,
sure,
it is night and day, man. I wouldn't even want to think about life without hormone optimization therapy because it's legit. It works.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of one of those things too. Like maybe you're in kind of denial. We'll say, is that the right word? Of like maybe, oh no, I don't need that. Like turns out you actually might.
Oh my gosh, we see all walks in our clinic, and you'll have everything from guys in their 50s just wanting to get back to their 40s to young kids that are struggling. They're not in good shape. There's a whole lot going on, and come to find out, it's and a lot of what people don't understand. Not to go off in this rabbit hole, we can do this.
Oh, dude, go for it.
Is that people just don't understand what exactly low testosterone means and just what it can do to people. I should page my wife down here real quick. She's the doctor, but honestly, it's like if you don't know, you don't know, right? But low T is like one of the biggest causes of type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And when you talk about other things like bone density, like it's not all about just muscles, right? There's a lot to do with hormones. We'll just call it, we don't even mess with testosterone, we'll call it hormones. And when your hormones are out of whack, and there's a lot of things that can cause it. It could be completely hereditary. It could be, your T3, T4, thyroid malfunction, or it could be just all the lack of activity and exercise and poor diet. The foods that we put into our bodies this day and age and the things that we ingest with preservatives. You ever look at a French fry that was left on the ground? It still looks the same from 8 weeks ago. It never changes. You're putting that into your body.
You find them under the seat of the car, and it's like you can put it back in
a.
You're right.
So what do you think is going to happen when you put that in your body? It's going to hang on forever.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, yeah, I'm right there with you. It's hard too. Like poor diets is like what kills me. It's just like, well, whatever's fast and on the go and like
convenience.
Right. That's what kills me more than anything. And
well, it's way more expensive to be healthy. It's way easier to just flip through a drive-through, grab a couple freaking cheeseburgers, and surprise and a Diet Coke to make you feel better about it.
Well, right. Well, it's like prime examples, like you go to Denny's or somewhere, and just for example, like you order like a 2-egg omelet and some pancakes, and it's like $10, but you order 4 egg whites, a piece of toast, and a chicken breast, and it's fucking 15. So
it makes no sense. Do you remember back in the day? Maybe you're too young. Waffle House used to be $5 all you can eat. Now, I'm speaking my age here, but I go to the Waffle House now because listen, I love me some Waffle House, but I'll order 4 to 6 eggs scrambled. I'll do my hash browns, scatter some other good stuff, but then I'll order a side of chicken breast, and then you'll hold my waffle to the end.
Yeah.
By the time I'm done with this thing, it's like $22 because I somewhat sort of put a lot of protein on the plate, and it's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, for sure.
If you go out to eat and have a salad with chicken in it, it's like $15. And
dude, yeah. And so I'm a big fan of like add chicken to everything. It drives my wife nuts. So like what I'll go, like we go to Subway or something, dude, I'll get like every vegetable imaginable and then like add chicken on top of it. And just the chicken's almost more expensive than the damn sandwich itself,
It's ridiculous. I was just reading something, and you might have seen this on social media it's $11,000 over the last year more to feed a family of 4 than it was previous. And then something else for some Bidenomics and all that other stuff. I'm not going to get into all that right stuff, but it's really interesting. Like the inflation, eggs being one of them. Like it's ridiculous what the inflation of eggs is right now. Pro tip: people looking for eggs at a good deal, go to Aldi. It's like $1.49 a dozen.
So,
stop spending $5 a dozen.
Yeah. What gets me is like I like to buy the whole box. I'll buy a whole box.
60 of them. Yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah, it's hard to like draw the line of like you said, it's like cheap at all these, but the convenience of having the whole box and being able to store the whole thing, it's like that. It's like that weird in between. It's like, do you pay for the convenience or do you just buy the cheap stuff? You know.
Well, that's just it. I mean, now that we have chickens, we get our own eggs. They're not producing fast enough to feed the family, but one day we'll get there.
Hey, you know how you fix that? More chickens.
More chickens. Well, apparently there's a formula to this. Now I'm learning all this stuff on the fly, but if you have too many hens and not enough roosters, then they start bickering amongst each other. So you got to have a rooster for every so many hens.
Oh boy!
And the roosters are a little wild, man. They're not like these chickens. We got to like domesticated. They'll like throw their feathers back so you can pet them. Roosters not so much, man.
No,
you pet with those, you're gonna get freaking pecked in your forehead.
Yeah, they ain't having that. Like they're like I grew up kind of in Podunk, and like on the weekends. I would work during the week, and on the weekends I would go out and like help this farmer. He had some chickens and like some sheep and stuff like that, and a couple of horses. And like, dude, those chickens don't play games.
No. Like you ever been approached by a turkey?
Not a turkey, no. I ain't trying to find out though.
When I was a kid, I got chased on top of a car by a freaking turkey. Buddy gave me fair warning, and I was like, "That's a little bird. What's it gonna do?" That freaking thing came after me, bro.
With a vengeance.
Yeah. If I'd have had a softball bat, we'd have had turkey.
Turkey nuggets, baby. Let's go.
I jumped on top of the car. He looked like he was serious. So,
So I don't know if you've seen the little clip. I need to put the clip like on Facebook. So this past weekend, my first at bat of the tournament. I'm going somewhere with this because the guy asked a question in the comments here. So my first at bat of the tournament, wind's blowing from first to third, and lefty throws me a knuckleball. And it just keeps running and running and running. And I wanted to inside out it past his feet. Well, it ran in too far, and like me and my pride's like, no, I'm still gonna inside out this thing. I end up fisting this thing up the first baseline. Like I could have caught it and rolled it, and it wouldn't have went as slow. But like I was so excited because the third baseman's playing like probably 5 feet into the grass. The pitcher's left-handed, so he fell off the other way, and the catcher wasn't going to get to it as slow as it was rolling. I would have ran this thing out, and trust me, I am not speed. But like that's like how perfectly placed it was. I got so excited to run, it took about 3 steps and it fell flat on my face.
Oh!
Have you ever fell running the bases? Running the first base line like that?
Dude, it's so funny you say that. Well, I got 2 stories for you. One, they both include pretty grotesque injuries. But yes, the answer is yes. The sniper has gotten me more than once.
Oh, tough.
I was in Cincy one weekend and having a really good tournament. And I was murdering everything middle right. That was kind of my honey hole for the weekend. And I don't know what happened. Maybe I just took my eyes off. I don't know. Guy threw me a good pitch. I don't know. I full on man hacked at a ball that went 2 inches in front of the plate.
Hell yeah.
And when you play it at that conference level, every at bat matters, right? Because there's this thing called stats that everybody's concerned with. I don't care who you are,
right?
Whether you're worried about it during the weekend or you go home to check. I'm like, I'm not trying to get out, so I take off. I'm like, nobody's getting me, man. So the pitcher, same thing. He falls off. Catchers are usually freaking goofing off. I'm sprinting down the line, and I get about, I don't know, man, 3/4 of the way down, and pop goes my quad, like where it connects to my hip.
Oh, like, no.
Blew up, and I freaking ate it, man. Like, I face planted, slid, crashed, dove into first base.
Dude.
Safe, right? I mean, I was totally just beat up, and I got up, and the reason why I crashed, I didn't know what had happened. I just heard the pop, and so my whole body just gave out. And I, like, tore the piece of, tendon that connects the quad to the hip. And so now I got this weird little divot in my quad. It's strange, it's starting to come back. Maybe.
Yeah. That's kind of wild.
But it was wild. It was like I'm murdering balls like a million miles an hour, like middle right of the pitcher. Like everybody's running away from them. I'm just having a really good weekend, and then I take that swing. Like,
yeah.
What? Could I rewind that and see what happened there? Did that guy's knuckleball just move like this far? Last second, I don't know. Just it was an anomaly. And then the other one was kind of what put it into my career. I call it a career, but in Kansas City a few years ago when I was with the Anarchy team, freaking Zirkle kept whacking dingers in front of me. And so I had to hit the ball down.
The fastest guy in the conference hitting home runs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. He wasn't trying to spin it on him. But anyways, I hit a ball down just to the side of the pitcher. Middle guy, Fry, I think it is, picks it up. Routine. And I'm like, all right, whatever, get down the line. Well, then the first baseman starts like moving, like, oh, this ball's off the line. So like at the last second, I made this knee-jerk decision to just dive for the bag. And so I did, and I ripped my shoulder, just like went somewhere it wasn't supposed to be. And it was a total dislocation, 270-degree tear of the labrum, surgery. Like, it was a disaster. Hi.
Hello there.
You're just in time. Remember Riley, guys?
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Say hi.
Hey, do you have any questions? You got anything you want to talk about?
You want to talk about Elsa? Yeah?
Yeah.
What about Elsa? Are you going to sing? No.
Oh.
Okay. You gonna watch? Okay, can I have a kiss?
Aw.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for joining the show.
Bye. Busy.
Oh yeah. You're supposed to be in bed.
But it's kind of the common theme though. Like I tripped and fell, and then another guy that hits. He's one of my regulars on the channel. Dude, he did the same thing this weekend in Texas. He's playing in Texas. About halfway up the line, he slaps the ball into the third. He's lefty. Slaps the ball down the third base line. He's about halfway up the line, and then he just shoulders got too far over the feet, and down he went. It's like, man, it's like a curse of the channel right now. Like, who's next?
Yeah, it happens, man. I mean, I'll blame it on my speed. Honestly.
Yeah, right.
I got out of the box too fast. Broke some turf nubs off. I don't know. But yeah,
right.
I mean, and so that was it for me, man. I was 2 weeks later after a total dislocation. I was back playing Worlds by the grace of God, and we all know how that ended. It was pretty cool, but that was a grotesque injury, man. Like, it was so freaking painful. Like, I just wanted to vomit, man.
That's one of those ones. Like, if you just like move, it hurts. Yeah. Every breath you take, it hurts. I
couldn't get comfortable. I laid down on the bench. I sat up. I laid flat. Like, the only thing I could do was like crawl my hands up the fence and just hold on. And then all of a sudden, my arm went slip, and it slipped back into place.
Oh.
But afterwards, I had no feeling. I had no strength. I drove to that tournament too. So in my brain, I'm always forward thinking, like, how am I going to get in the truck stuck like this? How am I going to drive 6 hours home stuck like this?
Right.
It was a mess, man. And I ended up having surgery after the season was over. It was pretty bad. They put like 4 anchors to pull everything back together and patched up the rotator. But it was just a wild, weird, play. And now it's like, well, dang, I've always slid head first. I don't even want to think about sliding feet first at my age. It's like, I guess I just can't play at that level anymore. What am I going to do?
Well, here's the rule I like to use when it comes to sliding. If you got to slide, you shouldn't have went.
Well, you got to go to first, though.
That's okay. That's fair. That's fair. I guess you do have to at least do that. No, so I messed up my my front labrum as well. And it was I had some tendonitis and it was flared up real bad. And I went to like fluff a trash bag one night at work. And when I fluffed that trash bag, I dislocated my collarbone.
Oh my God.
Dude, like I was like in like legit pain. Like I'm like driving home, like I'm like reaching for like the gear shifter on my car. And like, like everything I did moved I felt every bump in the road. It's like, that was miserable. It's like the shoulder injuries are so weird how you think like, oh, it's just your arm. No, it's your everything. Literally.
Yeah, especially if it's your dominant. I've had the left one done twice. This was the first time I'd done the right one. And yeah, it's just debilitating, man. Like, it is the worst. And I'll tell you what was even crazier. 2 weeks after surgery, I was at the office because I was trying to get rehab going as soon as I could. And it was icy and it was not the right conditions, and I went to get out of my truck, dude, and my feet went out from underneath me, and I was like, I hit everything on the way down, and I'm laying on the ground in the ice, screaming expletives, because it hurt, dude. And somebody comes out there, to like, oh my gosh, you okay? I'm like, clearly I'm not okay. Don't touch me. Let me roll over to my knees and see if I'm going to be able to get up.
You're right.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was like one of the craziest unforeseen injuries. I get it, like, if you throw a bunch or whatever, like eventually you wear things out. But it was just like a freak accident. Like I've slid that way. I don't know how many times. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've dove head first.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared to death to fall because if I like, how do I fall now?
You're right.
Head first, do I fall? Like, what do I do?
Throw your hands up so you don't mess your shoulders up. Then you are breaking a hip or something. So we've got a little crowd accumulated here. Oh, by the way, Stephen Robb's in the chat. Congratulations on your big finish this weekend, buddy. Second place down in Texas. Finish. The Beachies guys, man, they went on a roll there.
The Beachy boys ain't gonna slide on the radar no more. Like,
no,
they were hot last year towards the end, and they're playing some really good ball this year. I'm really happy for those guys. A bunch of my military buddies that I play at the Howl with every year, so I'm really happy for them. They just picked up Tom Baldessi.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
He's there to help out with Sam and Steve. There's a couple Steves over there, really good dudes. I'm just happy for those guys, man. They're hard nosed. They hustle, like kind of like Roofex all over again. By the way, I think roofing companies are saving the conference right now. You got other roofing teams running it, right?
Yeah.
Roofex, I-57 Beachy Boys. You got JBL's a roofing team too. So
okay.
There you go. Yeah.
So
call it an Amish takeover.
Dude, that's what it feels like. But I think the convenient thing about it is like there's starting to be some like Amish and like Mennonite type of teams around here really starting to kind of get their traction and take off and become a thing. Like,
dude,
hustle is hard to find in the conference. Not even in the conference in softball.
Hustle is free. It's always been embedded to me. Tim Barnes, great coach over there was like one of the two things you ever ask for: heart and hustle. Hustle's free. You hear him screaming all the time. That's why we're running when somebody legs out a single or whatever. But I'm gonna tell you something. I do not personally like watching softball. I'd rather watch paint dry. Like once I'm done playing, I'm done playing. I want to go do something else. But I will watch Amish kids play. Dude. Those dudes are a million miles an hour, nonstop. They don't quit. It is freaking. Matter of fact, they boat raced us a couple years ago. Same Roofex guys in Oklahoma City at the ASA.
Boat raced?
And oh yeah, it wasn't even close. And we were a pretty good team. And I freaking hung out and was like, these guys just freaking destroyed us. I'm going to see what they can do going. And I'm telling you, man, the intensity never stopped.
No.
It is freaking awesome to see. Like, it's kind of like old school, new school. They're like modern throwbacks, man. They just freaking get after it. It's fun to watch. So, like,
and it's fun to watch, but it's awful to play against. Like, the teams that we've got kind of coming up around here, like, we get in a tournament, it's like, okay, well, they're on the other side of the bracket. But then when it's time to play them, it's like, oh my gosh, like they are going to take every base. They don't make mistakes. And like, I feel like the big thing that helps some of them when it comes to fundamentals is the fact like you don't have any baseball habits to break, and you're learning slow pitch from like they're 15 years old playing slow pitch.
They've been playing since they were kids.
Right.
Yep.
So there's they're used to the weird hops. They're used to the way the ball spins. Like it's all just like it's second nature to them. And then when they're
just not afraid either, man. They'll stick their nose in front of anything.
Dude.
If you beat them, they'll freaking come right back at you. It's good. It's good for the game.
Yeah, and even their girls, like we played some like 7-3 co-ed, seven guys and like 3 girls, and even their girls, like man, they all they want to do is just cut shots to the infield. I mean, like it's like watch your toes when they're coming because I mean they're coming.
They're bringing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just they don't hide it in their swing. I mean, it's just But I mean, it's
That's awesome.
Little cut shots with an 11-inch ball and a 220 bat. It's like, yeah, okay, we'll hit the fly ball when you hit that one. So, we were kind of talking about the conference there for a minute. You had mentioned, you sent me a little list of stuff here. We kind of go over it, and I do want to talk about that. What is the future of the conference, and like, will it make a comeback? Down almost 50% on teams, right? Like, what do we feel like is the loss here?
There's a couple things to be said about it. In my opinion, I believe the cost of playing in the conference or competing in the conference is significantly more expensive than it was 4 years ago.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to make this a political thing, but 4 years ago, things weren't as expensive as they are now. And it was a gradual process, but you're seeing a lot of sponsors kind of team up now.
Yeah.
To be able to absorb the hit. And then the schedule is not friendly either. They took away a lot of the events that you could drive to. So those lower budget teams could still play in the conference, yet drive. I mean, when we started way back when with ASP, I mean, we were freaking, dude, we did whatever we had to do, 6, 8 deep to a room, pull up carpet, do whatever you had to do to make it. But that was that was just part of the experience. It's too expensive now for some of the lower budget teams. So they've done one of the two things. They've dropped out or they've merged with other sponsors. And I think USSSA has made a calculated mistake in the scheduling. Like
yes.
They're just focused on all the bigger events, and kind of it seems to me like that they're just catering around the big teams. Well, here's the thing, those teams are getting older, and the youth and the younger generation aren't coming up.
Yep.
So what's happening? You can see a direct result of that. Participation's down. It's down in the conference. It's down at the local level. I'm sure you've seen it. The leagues don't have the participation it once did. You got a different generation of youth coming up that competed in a participation award era, right? So nobody wants to go out and compete.
Don't even get me started on that. You got guys that show up to a D tournament and they'll go out and win the tournament, and they're not mad if they don't get bats and bags and money and like whatever. I mean, whatever happened to just showing up and winning and going home? That's what gets me with it.
The entitlement too, man. Like it's outrageous. I mean, I'm sure it drives some of the old timers nuts. I feel like I'm getting old now because I like to look at some of these young kids and all these videos and what have you, and I'm like, I'm annoyed by it. Why am I annoyed by it? Am I old? or what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like whatever happens, just going out there and earning it, man. Like just go get it, go compete, and go play against better teams. Go play against higher competition because it's only going to make you better.
Yeah.
And this day and age, man, they'll look at a freaking bracket and be like, nope, don't want to play in that one. I'll go play ping pong.
Pickleball. It's a big one.
Yeah, there you go. Like, go play something I feel like I can dominate in. I'm telling you, man, I took so many lumps coming up. When we were a D team, man, we thought we were running things. We were like 110 in our division, and then learned about the Texas Legends, and I was like, well, what's the Texas Legends? And they were like, well, it's the Texas Major. It's where the big boys play. I'm like, we're the big boys. I'm like,
hang on a minute. Yeah.
Dude, we got humbled. I mean, we went 0-2. We went 7 innings with 2 very good teams back then. Conference team, safe second, and a Texas Regulators team. But you know what? At that, I was hooked. I was like, well, this is ball.
Yep.
Like, oh, this is where you want to play because it's the best of the best. And it's either you play against the best and therefore you train and prepare like you're going to play against the best, or you don't, and then you never elevate your game. You just play backyard ball,
Yeah. That's I like the prime example you talking about. Like people will look and see who signed up in a tournament before they register. It's been a few years ago now, quite a few. We had a major team sign up in an open tournament here, and like that team showed up on the list of teams, and then people just started dropping like flies. Like nobody wanted to play them. Okay, I understand that they're probably going to show up and win this thing, but like whatever happened to wanting to play them? Because that dude, part of like getting better is taking those lumps, realizing like, okay, so people don't like losing, but to me sometimes, I'm not saying I want to show up and lose every game, but when I lose to a good team, I kind of sit back and study like, okay, how did we lose? What did they do that we didn't? Learn from that. They'll use it as a learning experience. Don't just go out there and say, oh my God, here we go.
It's a good measuring stick. If anything else, like, all right, well, what changes do we need to make? What could we do differently? And just make the adjustments and come back and do it again. Like, don't be like deflated and go back to playing. The problem is people want to play where they dominate. They don't ever want to play where they could lose.
Yep.
And I think that's part of the problem with our industry, if we'll call it, or hobby or whatever you want to call it, softball that it is. But people have lost interest, and I think the only way to get it back, how do you bring it back? It's going to sound silly, but you got to make softball great again.
Yeah,
you got to have venues. You got to have draws. You got to have people. Nobody is like enamored about major teams. Nobody cares. They don't want to play against major teams. They don't want to get their teeth kicked in. They want to play against competition of their own. So, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the major program is actually not good for the growth of softball. It only is good for that level of ball. And so everybody else, DW said this years ago, that everybody else is just cannon fodder is what he used to say, or something like that.
Yeah.
For the major teams. And it's I mean, on any given weekend, It's a little different now. I mean, it's Rismondo and everybody else. Let's just be honest. You're playing
sure.
for second place no matter where you are if Rismondo's in town.
Absolutely.
And, either you're okay with it or you're not. But is it healthy for the game? I don't know.
So, and that's where, like, you struggle with – I was going to bring that up. It was one of my points as well. Like, at what point, we've got – I hate talking player rankings and on this player and that player and this player and that player because then you're starting to make excuses for why you lost. But at a certain point, when like you said, everybody's playing for second place, what do you do to, like, expand this program a little bit? Like you could probably take those two teams, split them up, and they could go grab more guys and still be the best two teams. Like they're just that good.
I have some ideas on this, but I can't share it publicly because it's something I might do later, and I don't want to give my idea away. But I will say I'll kind of like hint to it. It's not this. I have a different idea, but I'm not going to put it out there yet. But just say you just say, hey, major guys, you guys are great, and you're not welcome to play in this. It's AA and down.
Ooh.
Now, your major guys are going to slowly infiltrate the AA and the A's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at least you don't have Travis Rismondo. You're a great sponsor. You've been doing it forever. Winningest sponsor probably of all time. Don't thank you. Dan Smith, you're not welcome. Like, I know it sounds like a pretty bold statement, but if you think about that, if you just remove all those sponsors that come throw as much money as they possibly can to get the best players,
sure.
Then does it not create parity? There is no salary cap, if you will, and whatnot. But at least if everybody is kind of thrown into a pot, I'm kind of starting to give my idea away, so I better stop. But long story short, and this is no disrespect to Rismondo or Travis Rismondo. I mean, again, great run he's and Helmer for being able to manage these guys and keep their egos in check. Like, it's amazing what they're doing.
Sure,
they could go undefeated this year. They could be the first team to never lose a game. It could happen.
It's truly kind of wild. Like, we've seen what they're capable of.
Check me there, but I'm pretty sure that's never happened in the history of the conference.
I know.
And it could happen. We could very well see history there. And you're not welcome to bring your team to this venue. It's going to be an open venue, but you're going to have to divvy up the horses. Yeah.
So and that's what that's what I was thinking. Like, what if you just it would be hairy. It'd be really hairy because you'd have to get the sponsors to buy in. Because, like, most of the time, what are your sponsors when they're there? They're like, okay, well, we want to be with this team because we're going to win. We want to be with the winning team. The Travis Rismondo and the Dan Smith. Like, he's not going to sponsor this team to go 500 on a weekend. Like,
and he's probably not going to dump a bunch of money into anything that he doesn't feel like he's going to walk away without a trophy.
Correct.
But if it was for the betterment and the growth of the game, and you could get them to change their perspective, think about that. Like, what good it could do. Because right now, the reality of it is, if it continues to trend in the direction it's trending, there will be no more conference in a few years.
Sure. Allocate. Here's my off the wall idea. You get those sponsors to allocate X amount of dollars, and then from there you would have to kind of figure out, because I mean, you don't expect one major rated player to make as much as the top major rated player, but you allocate that money, spread it out, and then draft your major players.
Super draft your major teams or your open teams or whatever. There you go. Ed Alf's done a great job with the super draft. Take what somebody else is doing. I mean, it's business 101. Find out what somebody else is doing and replicate it.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. But, again, you got to go back to why people play and pay at the level that they do. It's because they want to win.
Correct.
Right? There's a reason why there's 12 sponsors, title sponsors on these big teams, because they all want a taste of victory, and they feel like if they put all their dollars in that basket, then they're going to get that. But if everybody puts it all together in one basket and everybody's equal, there's no guarantee of winning. But golly, what kind of parity would that create? How good would it be for the game? Now, any given weekend, somebody could be a winner.
Yep. See, now even that trickles back to even like league play, and that's part of the reason I feel like league play might be down in some places. Here's what my take on it, especially here, like locally, when it comes to league play and like some of this, even tournament play as well. You get all these guys that want to load up one team. And it's guys that probably have a pretty good sized network of people. So why don't you take those 10 or 11 ringers that you want to load up on your league team that you're not going to even blink an eye at losing a game, split those teams up. and then go like just the same thing I was kind of talking about earlier. Grow the game a little bit. Like who wouldn't want to play with 6 of the best guys around? Like you're going to have people like beating the door down to go play, and it's an opportunity for those players to learn and get better as well. Like you got to surround yourself with better players to get better. I feel like. So it's an opportunity for the game to grow. An aspect of the players coming in are going to learn something from those 6 players that got broke off into a different team. Like instead of playing in an open tournament where you just load one team up and everybody complains, oh, we got a spot runs and nobody wants to sign up because we're here. Split up then. If you're so good, split up and show, you should still be fine, right?
Share the wealth. And the opposite perspective of that is you have one team, league, whatever, runs it, goes undefeated, beats the brakes off everybody, and most teams don't do it humbly. Then what ends up happening is those teams don't sign back up.
Correct.
We were playing league the other night out here, and opening league night, and we played a bunch of kids. I mean, and our team is legitimately a senior team. We got guys 40s, 50s, a couple of guys almost in their 60s. But we're good. We've been playing forever. We know how to play. And we beat the kids. I mean, they put up a fight, but we beat them handedly at the end. And then when we shook hands at the end of the game, I pulled them all aside. I'm like, how old are you guys? And they're like, 20, 21. I'm like, you guys are the future of softball. I just want you to know. We're all old enough to be your dads, granddads. But this game doesn't survive without your participation. And so I thank you for signing up for this league. And,
sure.
Just wanted to give them, you didn't win tonight, but hey, here's the upside. We've all been there where you're at. We all took our lumps too. Come to find out, some of the kids' dads actually played back in the heyday.
Oh, nice.
50 Cal actually knew one of the other guys' dads, and so they started talking about ball back in the day. And it's like, that's what it's all about. But
sure.
If these kids come out there, get a bad taste, frick that, man. We'll just stay home and play freaking Fortnite or whatever. You know what I mean? So
right.
We got to encourage that youth. We really, if the game is going to grow or ever get back to where it once was, we got to really go out there, grassroots, find kids, get them out there, build venues, make it cool. Get people excited about playing ball, because nobody's excited to play ball except for the few people that care about playing ball.
Sure. It's kind of what I like. So what I want to do, I got too much going on in the spring to play league, but for the summer, when I sign up, I'm going to take like probably 3 or 4 guys that are pretty good. And then I genuinely I got to get those guys to buy in. I just want to make a post on the local page. Hey, if you want to play league, come out. We got these 4 guys. We got 6 slots left. Pay for your spot, and it's yours. Come out and play softball.
There you go.
It's like even if you could get another group of those same guys to go do that, then guess what? You got 2 more teams for your league that's usually only got 4 or 5.
There you
went
go.
From 4 or 5 to 6 or 7.
Yep.
And it's like you said, it's a chance for those guys to learn. They might be encouraged to play if they know they're going to play with some good players instead of scrounging every week. You got to find ways to grow the game. Bottom line.
I agree 100%.
So, talking about the conference stuff, yeah, I mean, it gets sticky, when you're talking about, how do you get the sponsors to want to participate without guaranteeing a win, you might say. So yeah, it's going to get sticky, but we'll see what happens. But, talking about conference, though, how about the women's ball? The women's ball has kind of been taken off here.
You just read my mind, man. Like, okay, the men's program's kind of like petering out. The women's program is growing, and what a major division we've got going on right now with like, and even like the AA and the A. Like, it's very competitive. Shout out to the Monsta the ladies of Monsta are on a run right now. Texas 2-step this weekend, 10-0. Like, they did their thing. And I'm not sure how many people are familiar with it. That was Team 24 last year. Team 24 has won a bunch in the last few years. They kind of split up. Sponsors went this way. Sponsors went that way. So the Monsta team is now Katie Fricke's running that team with Tom from La Familia.
However you say it,
yeah. So anyhow, they've won 3 tournaments this year so far, and they had a second place finish. I think it was in Vegas. So they're running, man. Like,
they're rolling a little bit, huh?
They are playing ball, but the Derby girls are the Derby girls, right? And then you've got Team 24, who's still, like, they were in the championship today with the Monsta team and the Lady S9E5 team, and like, there's a bunch of Ball Ford's got a team in there now, and they're all competitive. Like, if you watch that bracket, and that program seems to be thriving. Clay's doing a really good job with the women's program. So, you know what? It's hey, you know what? Good for the ladies.
It's time for
they
sure.
Get their shine too, man, because they go out there and they play. I mean, my wife played for years. Actually, she's a better athlete in this house, although I won't say that too loud. She was all Army athlete.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Played for Extreme, the women's team. Very good athlete, but they never, in my little bit of time covering the women, they don't get no love, or at least they hadn't. So it's good to see them getting some coverage, getting some publicity, seeing the program grow. And if you ever watch, I mean, again, I don't like watching softball, but women play hard.
Dude, so
they're not caught up in the stats and the lights for the most part. From my experience, they just go hard.
They go hard, and like my favorite thing about watching like the women play is it's a fundamental game. It's not just go out there and blow a ball over the fence and come back and slap all your buddies' asses. Like you gotta play the game fundamentally. You're working the ball around the field. You're playing defense. Like it's fundamentals.
The defense from the women is at the upper level is like, you can tell so female athletes who play at that level came from collegiate backgrounds for the most part. So they're like smooth,
Yeah.
You watch some dudes, man. I would put the top women athletes up against some of, not the top, but like, they're more fundamentally sound.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And they're not sidestepping stuff. Like their nose is in front of it. Like I tip my hat to them, man. I mean, they're really good. So it's good for the game. It's good to see the women's program doing well, and for them to get the publicity and notoriety that they deserve, because you know what? The game is the game. Men's, women's, co-ed, the whole night. It's all encompassing, right? So it's good to see some part of the game growing and doing better.
For sure.
At the high level.
Yeah, absolutely. You're kind of talking about the Monsta ladies. Let's talk about you and your little stint you've had here at Monsta. You've been there, 4 months now, right?
Yep, 4 months. Yep.
So how's the transition been going from where you were to where you are now?
It's been great. Carl's really awesome to work with. And, what I'm being asked to do here is completely different than what I was asked to do previously with Anarchy. So a little bit of an adjustment for me. Like, I don't wear as many hats here, but what I'm asked to do is like to be focused and just dialed in on the specifics. And so, because I am so used to like being so spread out and doing multiple things, design, art, graphics, social media, R&D, like that, you name it. Like, and I love doing all those things. But, as I said before, I've seen a lot of comments. People are waiting for the Nimmo effect. I keep hearing that from people. It's like, I don't need to do that here. This machine's already built. It's a well-oiled machine. I'm just a supercharger being bolted on top of the block.
Okay.
So we can hit and go.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. And we've got some really awesome stuff coming down the pipeline.
So let's talk about that. Like, what's going to be the first bat that's got Leaf Nimmo's touch on it?
I can't let it out of the bag just yet.
Uh-oh.
But there is something coming, and it's going to be pretty cool. But it's interesting because Monsta's heavily ASA. Like,
sure.
That's where we dominate.
But listen, don't sleep on the U-Trip bats. I'm telling you guys now.
Really good. Our U-Trip bat's really good, but we're known for our ASA tech.
Sure.
But because it's interesting. Like the ASA pie is smaller, and we own most of it. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be crazy to think otherwise.
Right. Just look at the dugouts, right? But
sure.
in USSSA, the pie is bigger, yet there is so many more people fishing that same pond, and we go about it a little bit differently here. And so here is an adjustment I will talk about. Like our mission is about creating and providing a quality product that is going to perform with integrity, and that's why my marketing approach with our U-Trip bats are performance above the line. And that's true. Like our bats start higher in compression and they perform at the 250 to 240 mark where they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And then things will break down like they're supposed to. You'll see delamination. You'll see things coming apart beyond 240 like they're supposed to. Unfortunately, there are other companies in the industry. I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to name names.
No need to. Everybody knows.
Don't. And now things have changed, and all of a sudden, and you had mentioned this when we were talking, it's like we're back in 2017 again.
Dude, we 100% are. You go from like the 2017 to 2020 era, like it was every bat's good. every bat needs 100 swings, and it's broken in and probably close to, if not failing, compression. And like they're just lightsabers, and they last forever. It seems like, you'll see like I'm just going to throw them out. I don't care about brands. I'm not a brand guy. So like you talk about the Easton, all the Fireflexes. They'll be failing compression and then last for 2,000 swings. I mean, you got 130-pound guys hitting balls 350 feet. That's ridiculous. And
it's a scary thought,
dude. It is.
And then you throw a hardcore in there. Here we go. So it's interesting because, like, if you remember when the 220 bats were kind of towards the end of their time, hey, here's this Pro M ball. We're going to play with this ball. But that ball was actually meant for 240, but they put it into play with the 220s, and then you had this weird response from this ball and this bat that wasn't meant for each other, and you had weird wild knuckleballs where outfielders were running in to catch a ball. Next thing you know, it took a different track, right? So then they changed all that, and then now we got 240 bats, and then in the beginning it was like the 240 bats were terrible. The big companies, like, I think that they tried to do the right thing and establish like this is the new.
I loved it.
Compliance.
I loved it.
And then they started like having really bad results right out of the gate, and then all of a sudden things changed again. There's this compliance issue. Now we got this. Look, things aren't hot enough, so let's throw this hardcore ball in because we need to change yet again. Mm-hmm. And so now you're having to change your technology all over again to meet the ball that is now the ball, although they don't use this ball all the time. It's really confusing, right?
Sure.
Like, depends on the dimensions of the fields, because the hardcore and the Pro Am, two totally different balls.
Yeah,
totally different ball.
The hardcore like legitimately takes me back to the Thunder Advance and like Evo Microcell days. I mean, it is a multi-layer ball. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether they want to admit it or not, it is.
No, it is. It's 100%. I mean, not to throw too much secret information. I don't know who's listening here, but the multi-layer ball was patented forever and ever, and the patent ran out. Now we have a multi-layer ball being made by multiple companies. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now insert this new frickin' rocket ball, and you already have changed the layups of your 240 bats to where they were supposed to be this bat that was safer, and now we're like, yeah, cells were terrible, so we got to get hotter and get the hotter ball. And here we are back again in the Wild Wild West. I mean, it's crazy.
See, what gets me is when we first transitioned into the 240, everybody was like, "Oh, what bat do I need to get? If I swing this, I swing this." What all the 240s are crap. What do you think the best one is? And I always told people, and it was like I'm really popular for not popular answers. So, like, if you were a good hitter with a 220, a 240 will not slow you down. I firmly believe a 240 will not slow you down. You'll be able to do everything you could do with a 220 with a 240. Are you going to lose some performance? Are you going to lose a little bit of distance? Sure. But those things weren't holding you back before.
Right.
And, you're not getting your 130-pound guys are now, instead of being your DHH for the weekend, they're batting
leadoff. You go.
Right. Yeah, they're batting leadoff and punching it around, and they're batting in the 7-hole because they can't figure out how to hit. Like, right. It was good for the game, and that's another reason why I really like 52s. You got to spin a 52. You got to hit it. Yeah. You can't rely on the bat to just be a bazooka and hit it for you. So when we switched to the 240s, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a great spot to be in. I loved it. And again, an unpopular opinion, but I loved going to the 240. As a pitcher, I felt like, I was like, okay, I'm not defenseless anymore. As an infielder, sure. I feel like I'm not defenseless anymore. And then I pitched a U-Trip tournament this past weekend, which is the first like sanctioned U-Trip play that I pitched in a while. And it's like 70, 75 degrees, and everybody's swinging. Brain doesn't matter anymore, but everybody's swinging, whatever bat, hitting hard cores, and I'm pitching, and like I can barely see him going by me. Like we are back to 20. We're back to the late 2020. 2010 era, whatever you want to call it. Yep. We're back. Yep. We have gone absolutely nowhere with it now.
Well, I honestly think, again, this is just my opinion, but I think all that stems from cells. I think when you look at the whole thing, it's like, well, we tried this. Perfect case in point here. This was years ago, but they thought they would put the classic M in play at the Smokies. I don't remember what year this was, but they thought, well, the games were like 98 to 72 before. So let's put a different ball in play. And there was games on the show field that were like 7-5, right? So people were not happy. People were unhappy with that. Nobody wanted to watch that. That's not when you go to the Smoky. So same thing in our industry. It's like you dumb it down too much, and we live in an instant credibility society.
Mm-hmm.
People want instant success.
Yeah.
That's why nobody wants to take BP to break their bats in. They want to be game ready out of peel them out of the wrapper 242.
No, they want to take it out of the wrapper and hit stadiums with it, and then piss and moan when it breaks in 100 swings. That's what they want.
Well, then there's that. There's that as well. But it's like, if you dumb the game down too much, you slow it down too much, you make it too safe, then people lose interest, right? They want to play freaking dangerous softball. I'm just going to call it what it is. You mentioned the 52. If they could ever make the 52 not as bouncy, and I think it has to do with the way it gets out around quickly, and that when you hit a softball, there's a time span where they're out around and they come back in the round, and when it goes from that to that, that's when you get that hop. If they could make the 52 more true, that would be the best ball for play, because you could just say, hey, who cares? Swing a U-trip bat, swing an ASA bat. We don't care. It's a 52.
Right.
Snowball, open tournament, been going on for 39 years. I had planned on having hardcores for that, and somebody, I'm not going to mention names, didn't come through.
Oh, tough.
So we were stuck using the park balls there at Texas Star, which is a hot dog. It's a 52. Well, lo and behold, games were still in the 40s and 50s. They still left the park. They didn't go 10 rows deep in the parking lot and break windshields. But
right.
The point of the matter is that it was a good enough ball to play on 310 fences for an unlimited home run tournament. And then it's like, hey, well, what if we don't change that? And what if we just allow any bat legal?
Yeah.
U-trip 240 or an ASA bat, whatever you think is going to give you the best opportunity for success, and then it kind of just levels out the playing field. I don't know. These are just random thoughts.
No.
What I will say is that
let's hold on to that thought real quick. I don't want to interrupt you. Hold on to that thought. So you're kind of talking about like the bat doesn't matter, let him swing, whatever. So in Missouri, like Missouri's sanctioned ASA play, 1.20 BPF or ASA stamped. They have a band list that they use, which is like the usual band list, but it's 1.20 BPF stamp or ASA stamp bat, as long as it passes compression, which they only test at state. Like that's what it is. So you could swing whatever bat you want. Like so you're kind of talking about that. So do you feel like that there is not a huge performance gap in a U-trip bat and an ASA bat if you're hitting a 52?
No. Well, if I'm hitting a 52, I'm swinging an ASA bat.
Why though?
Because the difference between ASA and U-trip is 100 miles an hour versus 98 miles an hour. That's the spec, right? That's the rev limiter, we'll call it.
Right.
But a 52 is lighter and doesn't get into that barrel as much. So that, and most companies have gone to the barrel inside a barrel technology. They can't do a floating barrel because we have a patent on that. But they have different fixed inner barrels to compete with that ball. So if you're hitting a ball that doesn't push into the barrel as much, then you want that recoil from that inner barrel to drive that ball, spin that ball back out. On the flip side of that, if you're hitting a pro-am hardcore, it's going to shatter any of those bats. But the reality of it is because most of the U-trip bats now are triple wall design, and they have a lot of fireworks going on in my background. How did that happen?
I don't know. We're excited about technology, I guess.
I don't know what I did there. Try it again. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, the hardcore ball, it gets into those layers and makes all of those layers flex and then trampolines it back. So it depends on the ball as to what you want to use. I've always told guys this: when it's hot outside and you're playing U-trip ball and the ball turns into like a Nerf ball, like a squishy sock, you want a hard bat, dude. You want a one piece. You want a stiff. You want that bat that's 280 because it'll actually hit that mush ball. Versus a bat that's sitting around 240, 245 that's flexing and the ball's squishing, and you just get these like knuckleballs, weak knuckleballs.
So see, that's where like I would almost prefer to hit a 52, especially in the heat. If we're playing like some podunk thing where it's hit whatever ball you want, I'm not opposed to hitting a 52 if it's 110 degrees outside.
It is the truest ball you'll find for hotter temperatures, especially in the South. Nobody loves hitting a 52 because you don't get that crisp pop pow sound. but it still flies.
Yeah.
It still flies. You spin it, that sucker will fly.
And that's where I was going with the question that I asked was, you know, do you feel like there's a difference in U-Trip and ASA bats hitting a 52? Because me personally, like, you know, playing most of our league stuff around here, and almost all of it is 52s in whatever bat you want to hit. You know, 1.20 ASA, whatever. I swung a U-Trip bat for that stuff for literal years. I like to swing one bat for everything because it's the best way to stay consistent. And I've never made an out and thought to myself, if I had an ASA bat, that would have been a hit. Like,
yeah.
So personally, and it just comes down to hitting the ball. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that an ASA Monsta doesn't give better you know, like, no question, it gives better feedback than a U-Trip pure.
Yeah.
You can't argue that. And a lot of it comes down to like sound and feedback and things like that.
Right.
If you think a bat sounds like crap with a ball, you've already convinced yourself it's not very good. When you know,
you're all in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, so you can't deny the fact that like that Monster is going to feel 20 times better than that U-Trip pure. But you still got to hit it.
Right.
So
that's. I mean, I think there's a tool for every job, you know. And if the job is a 52 core, you want to have that Monsta ASA bat. If it's a hardcore, you know, you want a U-Trip bat.
Yeah, right.
I'll put our Monsta bat up against any bat out there at 250, at 240. I mean, yeah, there's some other bats that drop below that, and well, that's comparing apples to oranges.
Sure.
But if we want to talk apples to apples, a bat at 250, a bat at 240, I'll put our bat up against any bat.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of an interesting thing you talk about. You know, talking about compression. So Charles Darling actually told me one time, dude, he's a pretty sharp dude. He's a deep thinker. You know, he mentioned that, you know, when you're doing your bat reviews, if a bat gets below 240, the review should be over. Because I mean, what's the point of the threshold? And like, I get that from a compression standpoint, I totally get that. But for a good amount of my audience, compression doesn't matter.
Well, no, and that's where people got so fixated on compression, and that doesn't tell the true story. Just like exit velocity doesn't tell the true story. You can cheat exit velocity by hitting hard ground balls.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started, bro.
But the reality of it is that, you know, compression only tells some of the story, and it really, again, it comes down to ball type and the situation, temperature. You know, there's so many variables that play into that. And the biggest variable is that 90% of softball teams don't have their bats tested. So what are we talking about here?
Yep.
You know, what are we really talking about?
That's why when ultimately when it comes down to giving a review, I've got one coming out this week. The bat failed after like 80 or so swings, and I said, and I mean it, like, I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, like, I use that as a point of like break in, like, how's the bat breaking in? Starts at like 275 and it's at like 230 after we get our swings in on it. Like, that at least tells me, like, this thing's going to break in really fast. It's not 275 one round and then 270 the next and then 268 the next round. It at least gives you the, like, you got to collect as much information as you can with your tester.
Yeah, so it's that. That's why you guys, and I know we're going to get into this, but you reviewers, you guys that are out there giving honest reviews, not bot reviews, but, you know, people that are out there just being honest. That's changed the game. It's changed the marketplace. It's changed how people buy bats, how they're influenced to buy bats.
Sure.
You know, I teased it last week on social media. Like, what I was teasing out, what people didn't catch on to, is that major players don't sell bats anymore.
No.
People don't see, you know, Kyle Pearson, I'll say one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to play the game. Like, the dude mashes. But his bat sells because his bat's good. Yeah. You know, it's a 12-inch barrel, half-ounce end load. That's what everybody loves. It's tried and true. That is the bat that is the most in demand, a 12-inch, half-ounce end load. And Kyle Pearson makes it look really good. But people don't buy that bat because Kyle Pearson's a good dude, and he is. People buy the bat because it's good. Reviewers say it's good. You know, people are influenced by the people who feel like that they are like the guy reviewing the bat, not the super major player, right? So
it's more relatable.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. It's like, okay, great. That guy's 6'5", his arms hang down to his knees, and he's got 10% body fat. I'd want to buy that bat. Yeah, it's going to do the same for me. Like, people aren't that way anymore. Like, people have gotten smart to that and a lot of the other trickery that would happen back in the day. So The review channels, the reviewers, guys like yourself are critical to the success of not just our game, but the marketplace.
Yeah. And like, I never really like thought that deep into it. So to me, like I've kind of ruffled some feathers before with the fact that I'm going to call a spade a spade. If something's not very good, I'm not going to call it very good. And then that manufacturer, like I've only had a couple of times where they've like reached out to me like, hey, we don't appreciate that. But like, if you don't appreciate it, then don't make a product that I'm going to say that about. Like it's that easy.
Or how about change your perspective and say, okay, well, what can we do to get better?
Correct.
If you know your product's not good, you're not going to make changes, right? If somebody's blowing smoke because you sent them a free bat and then you expect it to be good, nobody buys it, you're like, well, what the hell happened? Yeah. I'd rather hear that my product stunk and why, so that I can go back to the lab and say, all right, what do we need to change here?
Sure, but
that, nobody wants it over a public forum, but you know what? Truth be told, I'd rather have somebody be honest and tell me legit, like, hey, too much feedback, too much whip, too much flex, too much inlet, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, that was good, that bat was good, that bat was good, that was good. Every bat you review is good, so which one's good?
Sure. And that's why I kind of feel like too, killing it with the unpopular opinions tonight. Like I don't care to just stand there and hit a ball after ball after ball after ball over the fence. Like what can I do with this bat? Can I control it? Sure. Can I shoot a gap? Can I hit a line? Can I hit a home run when I need to? Like is all that to me goes into the bat. Like if it's loaded like crap, then I'm going to fight that when I go to do certain things because not everybody's a home run hitter. Not everybody looking at that bat might be a home run hitter. Like you got to kind of like dial in on that too. It's an interesting spot to be in. And like we, speaking at least for the ones that I interact with, we appreciate when people like recognize like there's more that goes into this than how hot it is or, what's the word I want to use? I'm trying not to like paint myself into a corner with words because some people hang on to every word you say and never forget it.
That ain't going to be me, so don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, we're on the internet though. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's true. You're under jury right now.
Oh yeah, absolute scrutiny, But it's one of those deals where like we also recognize and appreciate the people that are like, hey, call it what it is. If you didn't like our bat, that's cool. Let me see what I can do for you. Prime example here. I know you're a Monsta guy, so I'm not trying to like bring you on and talk about another brand. But we reviewed an Easton Senior bat that was literally the thumbnail of the title says, "Don't buy this bat." Like I mean, it was that bad. But then Mario Foster reaches out to me and he's like, "Hey, I know you didn't like this, but I want you to try this one. I'm going to stand behind this. I'm going to send it to you." And it was a bazooka. So. Good. But like he's willing to stand behind it and say, "Hey, we appreciate the fact that you're honest about it, but tell me what you think of this one." And he goes, "If you don't like it, I want you to tell me." That stuff means a lot too, because I know a couple of reviewers that have had stuff sent to them, and they've basically been bullied for saying they don't like it. Well, people won't. Yeah, people won't send me something. Those same companies offered to send me something, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna tell you right now, like it is what it is. I'm not gonna gas this thing up for you just because you sent it to me. I review products. I don't promote sales."
There you go. That's the best way to be a credible source, to be honest. Kind of like food critics, that'd be one of the greatest jobs, man. Somebody just paid me to go around eating food all day. And give my opinion. And probably 500 pounds too, but it's all good. Hashtag legacy health.
Right. Yeah. So, but that would be a hell of a job though. You just go around, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's like Dave Portnoy and the pizza thing. Sometimes people don't want to hear what he's got to say, but he's made himself a little unpopular over the years doing so, but the guy keeps it real.
Yep. I think that's what our country's missing the most right now is keeping it real. Too many people, too filtered, too afraid to say anything. And I think it affects everybody in all industries. And if people could just get back to just being genuine and honest.
Sure.
And it's okay to disagree. It's all right.
Yes.
You don't have to agree on everything. We can debate something.
Have your right. I can have my opinion. You can have your opinion, but you don't need to change my mind because I'm not going to change yours.
Yeah, and we don't have to not like each other because we don't agree.
Oh, dude, we're starting down a slippery slope here. Change of topic. So, when it comes to like bats in general, when you find a bat that you really like, it's a question from the chat. Do you load up on that certain bat, or do you still kind of keep your once that bat's done, then you see what else you like, or do you load up on one and just keep it?
I'm a creature of habit. you know, and I feel like most people are. So I was just actually having this conversation with somebody last week. It's like, when you find that bat, that bat, you know what it is. Like,
yeah.
you know that bat. First thing I want to do is I'm going to go find about 5 or 6 more of them. Right?
Yeah.
First, 2 things. One, you just want to have that bat because you're comfortable with it. The confidence is there.
Yeah.
And the other part to that is when you find something really good, it's going to go away. Inevitably, it goes away. Something, well, you know, people got to change things for whatever reason. Well, because people want new, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
No, I'm a creature. I'm a hoarder, man. Dude, give me every one of those you got. I remember, back in the day when I was with Easton, there was this bat called the Purple People Eater. We called it that.
Yeah.
The Wegman bat. It's the gray and purple Wegman bat. I love that bat. I thought it was the greatest bat ever made. And I can't tell you how many of them I bought, you know, just to make sure I had, because I needed them. I needed all 12 of them.
So,
I mean,
yeah. So are we talking 100W? Are we talking that far back?
Yeah. Way back in the day when 100H and 100Ws were out. That was the bats that I had to have. And, you know, fast forward a few years, the very first time I ever swung a Monsta bat was in 2014. I was playing in the border battle, and I was supposed to swing Boomba that weekend. And I showed up to batting practice, and Vince Bisbee was playing. We had the scrimmage team. We would always put the scrimmage teams together to go play the national team.
Okay.
Except we weren't scrimmage teams. We were loaded up. We were good.
Yeah.
And we quit being allowed to do that after we beat Team USA. Another story, another time. But anyway, this freaking bat, man, this DNA. I was hitting balls 100 feet further than this bat I was supposed to swing. But you know what? I didn't have a contract. I was still trying to make a name for myself. And at that moment, I was like, this is the greatest bat that's ever been made. And to this day, I'm kicking myself for ever having letting it go. But I was just at a buddy of mine's house the other day, and he's a bat hoarder, and I'm looking on the ground. He's got bats everywhere. He's got bats outside his decorations of his house. And
sweet.
Not really, but sort of.
Yeah.
But anyways, he has this DNA sitting on the ground. It's like sitting there, and I'm like, is that what I think that is? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like the OG, so I walk up to it. M1 technology. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was borrowing a saw from him, so I didn't dare ask him for the bat, but maybe another time. But that's one of those bats, like, magic happens when you hit that bat. It doesn't matter.
So, yeah, well, you take the saw back and then ask for the bat. I mean, don't take 2 things at once. Just exchange it, you know?
Yeah, that's the game plan, you know. Thank you for the saw. It worked really well. How about that bat?
You're right.
Playing around in your garage on the ground, kicking around dust. You know, let me have that.
Yeah, you don't even play ASA. Give me that.
Yeah, give me that.
No, I totally get that. I get fixated on like a certain bat, like, but my thing is like I don't like to swing. I don't like bouncing around bats. Like if you see me switching bats in a tournament or even a league, something's wrong.
I mean, he's in a blender.
Right? Yeah. Because like, nothing like drives me up the wall more than somebody makes it out and they immediately like take their bat still in their hand. They go put it back in their bag, get another one out, and set it on the fence. Stop that. Yeah. Quit.
Yeah, no, as a professional catcher, that's what I'll call myself. That's one of my things. Like I'm always, this is some advice. Hey kids, you young guys, pay attention here. Catching is the most underrated position in all of softball. By the way, your job as a catcher is to make friends with the umpire.
Yeah.
Listen to me. It's serious.
Yeah.
You'll get more calls that way. You know, one of my tricks I used to always say is like if the pitch was a strike, in my opinion, my pitcher's like, you know, I'm like, my bad, I got in the way. And the umpire may have missed it. He may not have missed it, but all of a sudden he and I are like, we're buds.
Yeah,
you know, like maybe he did blow it. And then the next one, if it's borderline, it's a strike. You know, your other job is to get in batters' heads. Fill with kindness. This guy kills it. That gets in 92. Hey, made it out all weekend. But if the guy ever changes bats, the whole ballpark. Do back.
Do bat, do hitter.
Yeah.
So that one of my
I learned some of that from Mike Dill. Mike Dill, you know who he is.
Oh yeah.
He's been around forever. And he used to catch, and he used to have these weird Tourette's moments back there. And if a guy had like he would call out different grips. Like over that grip. Oh my god. Traditional grip. Like just yelling, and making batters think about like.
Yeah, right. Like so they're like looking at their hands like, what?
Sometimes you'd be like 347. I'm like, what is this, football? But it's just weird things back there to just get in people's heads.
Yeah,
like catcher, man, you can have a big impact on the game. And the biggest, most important thing is to keep your pitcher calm, because it's a hard job up there, man. For 7 innings, you're up there dodging bullets and freaking throwing up biscuits, and you're doing everything you can to get the advantage. And if an umpire and you aren't on the same page, they're not going to open their zone. They're going to shrink it,
Yep.
So as a catcher, if you can loosen that umpire up, talk to him, keep him happy, keep him smiling, and all of a sudden things change. Yeah,
so my favorite thing to say, like if something's too close and like maybe the pitcher didn't like the call, but hey, too nasty, just don't throw that one again. Like the next one. It's you always gotta chum it. You got to. And like I don't want to sound like what's the term? You kiss ass or whatever. But like you got to like loosen that umpire up. It's the
play
easiest.
The game, man.
Yeah,
you got to play the game.
You got to, and but you talk about pitchers melting down too. The big thing to think about pitchers, if you're watching or listening or whatever, or thinking about pitching, or even if you're a catcher, like he's saying, if your pitcher's starting to melt down, you got to go slow him down. Because like everybody on the field is watching him. If you're in the field and you're watching this pitcher melt down, well, guess what? Now you're going to start melting down too. And if you're a hitter, there's nothing I love more as a hitter than to see a pitcher start melting down. Yep. And I'm going to be that guy. I'm just going to go out there and say it right now. I'm going to be that guy. If he's melting down and he's having a fit, the first place I'm going to take a ball, if I'm looking to get on base, is probably back at his feet just to make him even madder. But it's all about just like, if you can get that guy worked up, then just keep poking the bear.
It's all about keeping people uncomfortable, whether you're a hitter or whether you're a pitcher. I learned this early on when I was pitching, that you can't get into a rhythm, and you sure as heck can't get into a hurry, right?
Right.
If you throw a ball, you start struggling, and you run right back up to the rubber, and you're trying to throw another one in there because you're trying to make up for it. You're trying to get back ahead. And,
sure.
I've learned a lot. Danny Evans is notorious for this. He'll make a freaking conference game 3.5 hours long. He'll walk around the mound. He'll take his helmet off. He's like tying the shoes.
Oh, dude.
But what you're doing is you're slowing the game down, and you're putting the game in your tempo, not theirs. So
right.
These guys are ringing you, right? 6, 7 base hits in a row. As a pitcher, kind of slow the game down without having to take the time out, because you only get so many of those. And
sure.
Just change the pace of the game. Throw something different. Throw the ball over their head. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
Just do something different.
Throw it behind them. Throw it at them. Roll one up there. Just like anything you can do to make them go, what was that?
Buckshot was notorious for this, and he would do this all the time to ringers. He would take the first pitch and he'd roll it across the plate. If you're on it, if you're 4 for 4 for the game, he would roll it across the plate. He'd throw the next one over your head. You're just thinking he's just jacking with it. He's going to walk you, right?
Yeah.
So now you're all sitting there with the bat on the shoulder waiting for ball 4. Well, he throws a cookie over the plate.
Oh.
Now you're playing his game. So now it's like, he'd do it all the time.
Dude,
it would get people more times than not.
That would get me, because then I'm wondering what the next pitch. Now I'm wondering what the 3-2 is going to be.
Well, right. Yeah, and if you're not going to give in, which he won't, then it's not going to be just a cookie. He's not going to tumble it over the plate.
Right.
Less bases loaded game on the line. He's going to challenge you. So
sure,
he would do that all the time. And I would tell guys all the time, like, the first pitch he throws you, that's good. You need to hit that. Same thing with Andy all the years. Like, hit his first good one, because you're not going to get another one.
There's pitchers like that you got to do that with, for real. Like, you don't want to play their games. You don't want to hit their pitch. Like, they will outcraft you if you give them a chance. You just got to jump on the first thing you get. And I'm not a big first pitch swinger, but certain guys you just have to.
Can't get buried in the count, man, especially with good pitchers that know how to work the zone. You got to be aggressive.
Sure. It's an interesting thing, like, trying to work on the art of pitching a little bit. I've did a couple, like, what do you want to call them, pitching 101 videos. I'd like to get somebody like Purcell or Clark or somebody like that on to kind of like, what's going through their mind, in certain situations, sure. or what do they do to try to make themselves different, or what have they learned along the way? I feel like that's probably something that's like pretty important, especially like guys that are like trying to be up and coming.
Yeah,
is a pitcher, or even a player in general.
I think one that if you could ever get him on, and I could help you with this, Billy Messina, who's like the wizard of pitching back in the day, taught Travis a lot. He would be a great interview, because he's just so like knowledgeable of the game and of the position, and he would be a good one to talk to for sure.
So I remember when I first started kind of watching and following some of the conference stuff, it was back in like the laser vision days, Like he comes out and he's out there pitching. I'm like, who is this guy? Like they're like, oh, Billy Messina's coming in and whatever. Somebody said, I think it was Coop was calling the. No, it wouldn't have been Coop. He'd have been coaching. Who was it? So whoever it was basically like, oh man, like Billy Messina's coming in. He's going to slow this thing down. I'm like, this old guy? And then sure enough, like he slowed him down and kept him, whoever he was playing, just basically just pumped the brakes. And then, Laser Vision came steamrolling back.
Freaking wicked. He had hands, his hands were massive. So the ball was just like tiny, and the stuff he could do with that knuckleball, man. But yeah, his knowledge of the game, his IQ, that was what made him so good. Is he knew every hitter, he knew their tendencies, knew what they liked, knew what they didn't like, and he just knew how to work the ball, work the count. Man, he was really good.
See, that's what I'd like to kind of pick the brain of somebody at that level, just to see what's different from like the guys at the C and D level. You kind of talking about one of the other things you want to talk about. We can even lump and kind of segue into this is like, what advice do you give to like the up and comers, whether it's a pitcher or a fielder or an outfielder or whatever, it's a professional catcher, what advice would there be for somebody like that? And I feel like he would be, somebody would be good for the pitching aspect of that. But like, if you're talking the game in general, like what's like some good advice for the up and comer?
One of the things I was taught early on was to take BP with a purpose. I see it all too often where guys just go up there and hit balls as hard as they can, as far as they can. And they don't ever actually work on anything. And then come game time, it's time to do something different besides the pull ball. And then, struggle bus happens.
Yeah.
So, I was always taught early on to take BP with a purpose. One of the best lessons I ever learned was from Helmer. And I might have told this story the last time. I'll tell it again.
Yeah, we don't care. Tell it again.
I watched him take a round of BP. He's a lefty. He literally went backside down the third base line 5 times, 5-6, 5 times, 5 up the middle, 5 to the, second base, and then 5 down the line. And he never hit the ball out of the park. Every single ball was down. Could have been a ground ball, could have been a line drive, but he never hit one out. And then I looked at him, and I'm like waiting for him to take his open round, like
yeah.
Round. And I said, and he walks out of the box. Are you done? He goes, yeah. I was like, huh. So I get in the box and I start hitting balls, and I'm trying to be as good as I can because I'm hitting with freaking legend here.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting this ball to the right center gap, and it's like I want to hit the frozen rope that hits the wall, that shot. And instead it's like one hop in the wall. I got frustrated. He goes, what's wrong with that? And I'm like, well, I didn't do what I wanted. He goes, you got to have 3 swings in this game. I'm like, okay. He goes, everybody should be able to turn and burn and hit one out whenever they want. I'm like, okay. And then he said, you have the line to line, the gap to gap. And he said the third swing and the most important swing is the one that never leaves the park. So he was literally working on his swing that never leaves the park. He could have hit it out at command wherever he wanted, as far as he wanted.
Sure.
The message there was, when you hit a ball 112 miles an hour and it's rolling and it's hissing going through the field, nobody wants to catch that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it kind of like the light bulb went off for me. It like opened up things for me a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, it's okay to hit a ground ball. Bryson Baker made a living hitting for Helmer at the top. People would think he was missing. He would dink and dunk left or right of the middle guy. But then if he wanted to hit one out, he hit one out. But that's what he did. He hit holes, man. That's all he was doing was just getting on base. But you have to practice that stuff. You don't just show up to the game and do that.
Yeah, and like I wish that I won't say the following. It's as much as like media has evolved. I wish that there was more people that could like watch Baker hit. He's back in the conference now, but but like watch him hit 10 years ago, dude. Just in my opinion, one of the most absolute magicians with a bat.
Pure hitter, man.
Top hand, he can top hand something. He can spin something. He can go line to line. What was it one year at the major? It was either major or Hall of Fame. I think it had to be the major. Dude, he hit like 12 or 13 home runs in a row. It was over multiple games. Yeah. 12 or 13 balls in a row, and he's just squeaking them over the 330 sign in the left field corner.
All that mattered.
Yeah, this
went over.
Yeah, he's so patient, and he can just do whatever he wants with the ball. And it can be the most lackadaisical, roll your hands at it, and the next thing you know, like you said, you need to stand on one. Well, guess what? He's just going to blow it out of here.
He is the true term professional hitter.
Dude,
he can get the job done in the 1 hole, in the 3 hole. Doesn't matter where you put him, he can get the job done. Which is why he's still able to play at the level he's able to play at.
Yeah, it's crazy. So he's got to be. So how old is he now?
He's 40. He's senior guy now.
Yeah. So he's. I knew he'd been a senior guy, but the fact that he's going to come in. I haven't caught any of their games yet, but I have no doubt that he's going to come in and just put on an absolute clinic with a bat again. So it's crazy. I wish more people would watch him, and I'm sure he's absolutely no reason to think he's not as good as he was then. So hopefully,
no, I think you get better with age. You just get less athletic, unfortunately. You
right?
You get more precise. You get more accurate with what you want to do. You're just less athletic, less agile. You know, and that's another thing that I would say to these young kids: you have to take care of your body, man. You can't go play every single weekend and not hit your cutoff and freaking go 100 miles an hour all the time. It's going to catch up to you. It ain't if, it's when. And the other thing is like diet nutrition, man. Like people don't understand just how bad sugars are for your body, how much inflammation it creates. Like never mind the fact that it's just not good for you, but people don't understand when you remove sugars and bad carbohydrates from your body, the inflammation markers completely go away. And all of a sudden you don't feel like you need WD-40 and duct tape to be held together. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But, you know, all of that starts at a young age, and setting those good habits at that age will set you up for success later. These are all things I've had to learn the hard way. But, man, yeah, if you're a young and up-and-coming athlete, man, I'll say it like this. When the season starts, it's typically March, April. Nothing's won in April. Nothing's won in May. Nothing's won in June. It's always won at the end. So it's the same thing when it comes to playing ball as a young guy. Like, dude, you're not gonna, nothing's gonna happen in your 20s. It's the duration of your career, if you want to call it, that
sure.
You have to continue to train and take care of yourself, or so that you can have a long, healthy career of playing ball instead of the short blip. You blew your shoulder out because you wanted to be the guy to freaking never hit your cutoff.
Yeah,
might be talking about my younger self, but anyways, it's just, you got to take care of your body. You got to do the right things, and you got to train specific to the sport. You can't go in there, see how many wheels you can put on the bench, and get as big and barrel chest as you can and expect to be able to hit a softball well, because you're not gonna be able to clear your arms, your chest,
right?
Too bulky. So these, the mindset has to change. You need to be more flexible and agile and limber. If you're trying to play at the top, man, those games are 2.5 hours sometimes, grueling games in the heat during the summer. Like, it is a mofo. And if you're not prepared, man, it will eat you up.
What was the number, if you remember this, it was a few years ago. I think it was Zirkle had on a Fitbit, and the number of steps he
had done, miles, like freaking crazy miles.
It was like seriously a ridiculous amount of miles. I can't remember how many steps, but what was it? Something like 30-something thousand steps in one day. I mean, no, one day. I think it was one tournament or one game, maybe. Does that sound right?
No, it was in a tournament. I believe that because when I went to the Challenge Cup to do the launch, took Monsta down there and did the launch. I had I had a little tracker in my pocket, and I think it was like 26,000 steps I did that day, just going back and forth in the field, picking up shagging balls, hitting BP, talking to people.
Yeah.
I was freaking beat, dude. We were the first ones there and the last ones to leave, and I could not move the next day. I couldn't imagine having to run to do those steps.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, it's full. That dude does not. He does not have like a. You're talking about don't go hard all the time. That guy don't have that level.
Him both are in their 40s and still run like freaking deer out there, man. It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. Like, but it's you don't see. I should say you don't see, but you don't see as many of those like guys like you were talking about earlier, kind of up and coming. Still doing that same thing. They want to jog to the ball and flip it in and then wait for the next one. Like, you got to find the in between somewhere.
Just go watch Amish kids play,
dude. Yeah, or play against them. It'll make you hate life for at least a little bit.
Take a page out of the. You know what we did when we played them? 21 when they were coming up. They were roof X. They were an 18. We all got together and we were like, hey, we're gonna have to out energy these guys. We're gonna have to out yell them, out hustle them, out everything. Good luck. Because if they get going, you know what happens. And that's exactly what we did. We beat them. We beat them in Kansas City. I can't remember where else we beat them, but it was Chicago. But we knew, like, we had to be louder, quicker. I mean, at least in our minds, we had to hustle. Like, we knew that if we could match their intensity, get on top of them. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
But then you got to close the door because, dude, if you don't close that door, they're not going to quit.
Dude, they're coming.
You start coasting, they're going to freaking suck you right on up and pass you right on by.
Yep. Yeah,
it's fun to watch, man.
Yeah, it's a blast to watch those guys. And like, kind of the other thing, you talking about kind of matching the energy is. Like I'll never understand how they can roll just out of the car or wherever it is they're coming. It's 8:00 in the morning and they're playing like they have been at the field all day. like, how?
Yeah, they've got a different energizer going on, man. I don't know, and then they get to talking their Yiddish, man. And that's a whole other game right there.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. They talk as fast as they play.
There's a couple of hashtags for the local teams that we've got here. There's a couple of hashtags going around right now, the stuff that they say, and it's like I can't even like you can tell me how to say it, and I still can't say it, but they love saying it. So you just let them have their moment.
That's good.
But it's the camaraderie is big with those guys too. That's also kind of impressive. In between games, they're not here, there, and everywhere. They're all under a tree somewhere.
They're a unit, man.
Yep.
It's cool, man. It's the way the game was intended to be.
So let's see. I want to look through. Oh, so we forgot to cover this earlier. We were kind of talking about the conference, which is where most of this stuff leads us back to. You were talking about the best nickname earlier. We asked you about that last time.
Man, I failed miserably. Not that I failed miserably, because Tank Top's my dude, and it was just all I could come up with. But Laser Dave is the best nickname.
Dude, okay, that's legit, yeah.
And it's for real. Laser Dave hits freaking lasers, dude.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And so I was, you caught me off guard with that one, and ever since then, it's been freaking 4 months since that, I've been stewing on how I failed to mention Laser Dave's the coolest nickname.
Yeah, I mean that's for real. Like when at first everybody's calling this guy Laser Dave. I'm like, who? And then you see him hit a ball, and you're like, okay, that's him.
Got it.
That's the
and
guy.
He cuts it as hard backside as he does anywhere else. It's nuts, dude.
I don't understand how. Like I'm a guy that likes to spin the ball and cut the ball a lot, but like my spin is done at about second base. Like from second base over to the right field line, it's going to be a lot of tail and top hand. But dude, he is just zing everything he hits.
It's really impressive to watch, and he's such a good dude too. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but the guy's a freaking amazing singer too.
Really?
Oh no, like American Idol, like he actually, if you look him up, it's on YouTube. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
He sings, he covers a song, and I don't know why I'm drawing such a blank here, but you wouldn't know it's not the person who sung the song. He's that good.
Dang.
Oh, dude,
okay.
he wells, man. It's freaking and he's such a quiet dude. It's so awesome, man. He's legit.
So like that's also kind of another unique thing is softball brings people in from like all walks of life. You'll have Laser Dave, who's a good singer, and you'll have some other people like you do that for a living. Like, what's the most like random thing that you've discovered about someone that you're just kind of like, I had no clue that you did that or you had that in you?
Man, that's a good one. I mean, holy smokes. You got man, Tommy Baugh, who runs a dealership. I mean, it's like, what? You own a dealership and you play conference softball? Like,
right.
How does that work? I feel like you should be on a golf course, but no, he's
the ball field is his golf course.
Yeah, he loves some top golf too, man. But I don't know, man. That's an interesting question. That might be for another one. I've known and met so many people. Man, yeah.
Okay, well, you think on that. We'll obviously reconvene again.
I'm going to have to come back. That's a really good question, actually, man. Good job.
Yeah. So it's just like it's all walks of life. I mean, you literally never know who you're going to like run into when it comes to like what somebody does for a career, or it's like, I didn't know for the longest time that Jared Hunt, he was a D1 golfer. That explains why he's so good at hitting balls from the top of his shoestrings.
You know who else is a freaking should have gone pro, but he's too much of a goofball? Is oh my gosh, why is it leaving me now? I mean, he's from Texas. I know this kid. James. He pitched for Competitive Edge 2 years ago.
Oh man.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do something here.
Oh, he's digging the phone out. Here we go.
Phone's moving. My laptop's coming on.
Oh, okay.
And he's gonna be so upset at me that I can't remember. But he is legitimately like beyond scratch golfer. Like he's the guy that'll take all your money.
Yeah.
Somebody's probably going to comment in this like, it's so-and-so.
So while you're looking that up, we did have a question in the chat here. You were talking about BP earlier, working certain things. When you're hitting BP, do you hit it where it's pitched no matter what, or do you if you're working on hitting a spot, do you try and hit every pitch to that spot?
That's a great question. This day and age, I murder everything as hard as I can, and I pull everything because that's just what I do. But, the proper answer to the question is you need to go to the pitch. A lot of the times when you try to pull a ball in the middle outside of the plate, you'll roll over because you're casting, trying to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's way easier to just take that pitch and go with it. In fact, it's the best thing you can do in BP is to work on hitting balls that you're not comfortable with hitting so that you can, in a sense, be prepared for that situation in the game because it's going to happen. It's James De La Garza, by the way.
Okay.
And that didn't happen because I looked it up. That happened because of my ADD brain. Take a break.
You changed the topic. Now you were able to think about it.
Boom. It just magically appeared.
Yeah.
So James De La Garza, do not play golf against that guy. Don't ever take shots with Billy Maggart. Totally random. Just throwing it out there. If you care about your liver and your life, don't take shots.
He looks like a guy that could just go hard. I mean, harder than hard.
He doesn't drink beer, so that tells you enough about it.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Oh, so, that's trouble.
Yeah, you definitely want to go with the pitch, and also don't be afraid to take pitches in BP. You need to get into a rhythm of seeing good pitches. Not every pitch is a good pitch. Don't swing in at BP because you're going to create bad habits.
I wish my wife was in here to hear that because when we
what, she pitched to you?
Well, she used to, and then like even we would go out and hit as a group. She played with Cohen and stuff with us. She's like, "Would you just swing the bat already?" It's like, at least give me something to hit. She used to get so mad at me.
Now all of a sudden you're sleeping on the couch because you told her her pitching sucked.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a Louisville Slugger Blue Flame now. That's a game changer. Anybody's a pitcher.
I don't know. I think I've hit off that thing one time, maybe. I think so. I think somebody brought one out one time. I just, you know what? I don't need a perfect pitch every time because the game's not going to be the perfect pitch. But Cal and I, we hit together all the time, and here's what you got to do. Guys who pitch, listen to me. Pitchers do not make good BP pitchers. Pitchers are get people out. That's their job. Mm-hmm. So more times than not, you're not going to be able to throw them over. However, I feel like if you do something enough, if you've thrown 10,000 pitches, you should be able to be somewhere remotely close. And it's not, Cal's a great pitcher, but sometimes he gets into this mode, man, where he wants to slip some tricky stuff in there. I'm like, I'm taking BP, dude.
You're right.
He's a really good ball player though, and he played ball way back in the day. And every once in a while, he'll just get that little monster on his shoulder and just slip one of these in. And I'm trying to, and I'll do the same to him. I'll throw him a freaking curveball or knuckleball in the middle of BP just to keep him on his toes. But honestly, like the best thing you can do when you're pitching to people is to set them up for success. Do the best you can. You as a pitcher, when you're pitching BP, should be taking it as seriously as the guy trying to hit.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that guy's trying to better his game. And so if you're throwing crap up there, it doesn't help him at all. But I'll take a lot of pitches. And there's times where I'll take a pitch and I'll tell them, I'm like, that was a good pitch. I didn't like it, but it was a good pitch. I watched it land and now I know. Or if I'm chasing or I feel like I'm chasing short stuff, I'll let it land and see where it's landed. Oh, it hit the freaking plate.
Yep.
No wonder,
I'm bad about the short stuff.
Be selective.
Yeah.
Be selective. Know your pitch. Know your strengths.
And that's one thing I kind of tell people too. Like when it comes like a group of like tournament guys or whatever, the best thing you can do to make yourself a better teammate is to learn how to at least pitch around a BP. It's like nothing's worse than being the only pitcher on the team. There's absolutely nothing worse.
Nothing worse than not having somebody that can throw BP, and that was the story of my life. I became the best bad ball hitter as a result of not having somebody get pitch to me. I used to tease all the time. You want to get me out? Throw me a strike because I'm not used to seeing those.
I mean that's a fair point, but then, by the way, I would probably hate pitching against you then because that's the guy that gets me the worst is the guy that no matter where you throw it, he hits it anyway. But I can't train myself to hit that way. I don't encourage people to hit that way. Like I'll look at him and just say, "Hey, look, we're here to hit strikes." Like I know you can hit that, but like if you make an out swinging at that pitch, you could have walked. Yeah,
well, and you can't be afraid to take walks, man. That's the other thing. I get it. League night, Sunday, beer chuck league. I'm not walking, man. I'm going to hit. I don't care if it's rolled across the plate, but we're talking tournament ball. Somebody's spending money on you to play, and your job is to get on base. Get on base however you can, and don't be afraid to hit the 31 either. If you're a hitter, you're a ringer, and your job's to hit, and somebody throws you a cookie, freaking bang that thing. But another thing I would advise for hitters to get better at is hit off the tee, but always follow up with live pitching. Don't just hit off the tee. Like hit off the tee and then let somebody pitch you a few. But the reason why tee works so good is it gets your timing right, but then you can work on hitting different balls, different positions. You can tee up front of you just a tad, behind you. I know this sounds weird, but a lot of backside is letting the ball travel and get behind you. And you'll find that you can actually let that ball travel a lot further than you think you can, because in your mind, if it gets past you, then you're not going to be able to hit it. So one of my buddies taught me this a long time ago. He was like, put the ball uncomfortably close to you and deep, and it trains you to keep your hands inside the ball so that when you're going backside, you're not wrapping around. A lot of the guys roll over on the backside because they still extend completely instead of staying inside of the ball. So these are like little fundamental tools that'll help you with success when it comes, because it's kind of an uncomfortable swing if you're not used to it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you talk about the tee and moving the tee back. So I'm going old school here. Like back on the Old Scout years ago, this is how I learned to hit backside, because I struggled with it for years. So somebody, every now and then you get the random person that would come on there and like ask for like hitting advice, and most of the time he just gets drugged by a bunch of trolls. But
absolutely,
the OGs were good about like still giving sound advice. Victor Cordova posted in there and said, basically put the ball on the tee at your back hip and then try hitting it.
Yep.
And it's just like, dude, it was like a light switch. It's like, that's what I've been doing wrong all this time. Like I'm trying to hit the ball out in front of me and hit it down the first base line. That's never going to work. But
it can. It's just where you hit the ball, but it's way easier to let it get to your back hip. Now, when you let it get that deep, more times than not, you're going to get the tail, so you got to play that too.
Fair.
But it's way easier to at least in your brain know you have more time, because a lot of the times that's where I get in trouble. It's like I think I'm out of time. I got to go right now. Gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm rolling over to second base because I rushed it. It's like my buddy Curtis Cornett. I call him Filet. He's really good at turning balls inside out. He would tell me like, aim for the dugout, shank one in the dugout, and then come back to the field. But what he's saying is let that thing get so freaking deep that it won't go nowhere but the dugout, and then come back around and start shooting at that line. But the reality of it is a line shot is such a low percentage shot. I believe that your best success is living 3 to 8, right? Take that field from the 3 hole to the 8 hole, live in the gaps, because your probability of success is going to be way better than trying to paint this line or push that line.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that shot. You ain't got a strike on you. Go ahead and try it. But inevitably, you're going to want to play the gaps.
Yeah, I have found that out over time. Like, I used to be the dead pull guy. I mean, you could almost go to Vegas and bet money that I'm going to just either cut a ball through the 6 hole or it's going to be rolled over to the shortstop. And then over time, I've kind of figured out, like, the gaps are kind of the place to live. Like, I've been swinging this. I've been an inload guy since day one. And for whatever reason, I've been lights out with a bounce bat, and I'm still not sure I feel okay about it, but it's working, so I don't care. But
so who cares?
Right. But it's so, I mean, it's just like I figured out how to like finesse the 4 hole a little bit. But at the end of the day, that balanced bat, I can live gap to gap. I can tell you every time I take that swing, I can tell you exactly where that ball is going to land. And it's a big thing. And I kind of want to talk about, I'm going to do a video on this here soon. It's a slippery slope, especially when you're kind of talking with some of the people that like view our content. It's a lot of like E and D and rec league guys. So it's a slippery slope. But like I feel like learning to hit middle is a good thing. And I'm not saying hit middle like hit at the pitcher. You want to work around the pitcher. But if you can learn to hit middle, and then it gives you the freedom to go gap to gap from there. Like
hitting middle is a part of the game.
Yeah,
it is a part of the game. Now, if you're hitting with the intent to hit a pitcher, then you're playing the game for the wrong reason. But hit is a part of the game. Focus.
Well, my webcam's like losing its mind.
Yeah. It's a part of the game, and you can't be afraid to hit the middle. And oftentimes there's going to be a middleman one side or the other that you're going to try to go around, and the pitcher is going to float in that hole, and inevitably somebody's going to get hit. That's part of the game. If you don't like it, don't pitch. Again, all the field is in play, and you should not shy away from hitting the middle. And a lot of the times when you're on the struggle bus or you're popping up or you're rolling over, if you'll dial the middle up, it'll get your timing back up.
Yeah, and that's why I love the idea of it. Is like I'll tell people like like I've told my buddy Brian that hit something. I'll tell him just fucking blow one through the box. Just
focus here.
Oh yeah, so it's my webcam. Like it's there we go, got it. But I'll tell him, like, he's like, what am I doing wrong? And he's wanting to switch bats and thinking about swing and everything else. Like, just blow it through the box as hard as you can, and you'll find it. just like that. And it's like, so Steven Robbs here is in the chat saying he likes hitting middle. So I'm going to pitch that guy around to BP and tell me how scared you'd be without a screen. Like he is absolutely unpredictable when it comes to like, he can swing the bat and you never know where the ball's going until he hits it.
He's got a late swing.
Oh man, it's wild.
It is violent.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's the best type of hitter to be though, because you're literally going to catch everybody off guard. You live the middle and then work your gaps. I mean, there's no other way to hit. is kind of how I feel about that. And
couldn't agree more. It's part of the game, man.
And it's like I tell some of the guys coming up. I don't want to with the pitcher mad at me, this or that. Like, listen, we came here to play softball. This is Saturday. We're playing softball on Saturday. You didn't show up to make friends on Facebook. You are not going to lose any friends on Facebook from hitting at a pitcher. Promise. And if you do, you didn't need them. Like, why are we worried about being a nice guy? It's Saturday.
Well, yeah, and then you pop up trying to keep it off of him, and the pitcher's over there talking about how he got you. Like, okay.
Yeah, all right, bud.
No, I was trying to keep it off of you. Cool.
Yeah, I'll fix your wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of the other thing with it too is, you'll got guys that want to kind of bully the middle a little bit. You'll get teams that want to do that. They'll just hit every ball back through there.
It's an intimidation thing. Like you said, it rattles the pitcher. Next thing you know, he's freaking bowling tumblers up there because he didn't want to get hit at.
Yeah.
That just changes the mind. Again, I'll never believe that you should hit at a pitcher. Now, there are times when your pitcher gets smoked and, there's unwritten rules to the game. But
checks and balances.
I will send a ball through the middle to back my pitcher up. I am not trying to hit a pitcher.
Yeah.
I will hit it right. I mean, I've hit it my buddies before. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't hit it at them. I hit it where they were. I hit it up the middle because they blasted my pitcher in the face. It's part of the game.
If you get those teams that they want to bully the box and keep hitting at your pitcher, and then you come in and you're hitting everything down the line, well, like, they're going to keep doing what they're doing unless you blow a ball back past their pitcher, and they're going to look at you and say, hey, no more, like, stay out of the middle. Like, but
they got one of those guys too. So let's
right. Or one of my favorite lines I heard a guy say one time is like, hey, if you want to play that game, we can. We got more pitchers than you do. I'm just saying. Then that really gets interesting when someone throws a line like that out there. But
I think here's the thing: you hit the box, go to first. Don't apologize. Don't my bad. I can't stand the my bad pitch or the guys that I've hit my friends. Like legit hit them, and I went to first. And then after time was called, I went out to check on them. And it's just no pitcher wants to hear my bad when they get hit. I don't care if it was my bad. They do. They want to get right back up there and get on that horse again because pride says so. But the thing is, middle gets so it gets so controversial, it gets so personal, right? And at the end of the day, pitchers have to understand when you toe that rubber, you accept all that comes with that. You can't be upset at getting hit at. If you're getting hit at and you don't like it, you do not need to pitch. No,
period. Or you wait until it's your turn to hit, and your guys are going to back you up. And if they don't, what do you got for teammates?
There you go. That's a great point.
Because that's how I feel about that. Like if your guys, and that's kind of why I want to make that video. It's not so much I want to harm or cause ill will or anything like that, but you got to have guys that got to have your back. And if all it takes is one, if they hit 10 balls at you in a big inning, and all you got to do is fire one back, and they're like, all right, they can play that game too. And the next thing you know, they're working the ball everywhere else. But sometimes you kind of stand up for yourself, they'll just do that stuff.
Or have a really good middleman back there and just tell them dugout cut. Quickest way to the dugout's hitting it through here.
Yeah. So
as a pitcher, I'm getting out of the way. My middle guys got you.
Well, see, and that's kind of an interesting thing. So last weekend, this tournament we were playing in, somebody said something, they're almost out of home runs, and then somebody makes a comment from the dugout, well, you're not going to have fun when we do. And the guy goes, no, it's fine. He goes, I got a Javen back here. He's a Mennonite, the guy that's not scared of the ball. So it's like, he's like, I got a Javen back here. You can hit as many as you want. I'm letting him go by, and he's going to field him.
You're going to go to the dugout.
You're right. Yeah, fastest way to the dugout's hitting the ball to that guy, and guess what? He's right behind me.
That's right.
All right, so I think we've just about got everything covered here. Again,
any questions that need to be? Last time we did this, I tried to go back and answer some of the questions that I felt like that's what I need to do, but it's like I think because it's on live or YouTube, whatever, I wasn't able to actually like type
Sure.
responses. Any questions that need to be fielded?
So Woodrow Hurley on the Facebook post here, he did want to know why. I'm assuming he's talking ASA. Why you don't make end loads anymore and everything is mid load?
That's not true. We do make end loads, but specifically, I'm sure he's referring to Monsta. They're just it's kind of a market demand question, right? It's like, what does the market demand? And the mid load seems to be what the market demands the most of. Now, I will say this: I've always been a heavy bat swinger, 28s, 27s, but I'm having to get acclimated to some of the 25, 26 ounce stuff just because that's where the honey hole is.
Oh yeah.
And there's a bat called the King of Diamonds in a 25 ounce that feels like an absolute freaking sledgehammer. And it's the way that it's weighted and because of the short barrel. The new APS series is redonk, bro. Like, I can't even explain it to you. 11-inch barrel. That is like nothing but sweet spot. It is crazy. We're actually debuting him in Corky's this weekend coming up here. So if the guy wants an end-loaded bat, I would suggest that 11-inch because the shorter the barrel, the more it's going to feel like it's on the end. Yeah. It actually, every inch you take off of a barrel increases your hand speed by 8 miles an hour. That's something I learned here recently.
Okay.
So it's a 26 ounce. That's what they max out at, but it is freaking lights out, man. I mean, crazy pop.
You've got my attention with the 11-inch barrel. I used to game a Combat Antivirus back in the day for ASA, and that was an 11-inch barrel. Combat made
see what I can do to get you something to try out down there.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
we would definitely like that. The ASA is huge around here, and the guys love their Monstas. So that would be really cool. Maybe we could get a review in on that and they kind of pass it around a little bit too, just to kind of get a little bit of the word going. We'll say.
Now, I will say this, for anybody that's watching, it's going to be out the Corky's real quick, another plug for A3. They've got a bat called Bama. I love freaking Bama. Anyways, they're going to be doing some specials on those. They're really good ASA bats for that weekend only out there at their trailer. So if anybody's going to be out at Corky's, they want to get a good deal on a Monsta bat, which doesn't really happen very often. I would see that A3 trailer this weekend and pick up a Bama.
Sure. So one other question we got here is, any thoughts on how to get ASA, USA, whatever you want to call it, how do you get that sanction more popular? What would you do?
Stay tuned.
Okay. There's enough.
Some things in the works, and there's going to be more ASA and bigger things happening with ASA here soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like hearing that. U-Trip doesn't have to rule everything. They really don't.
And there's some players involved in this. So there's some financial backing that's going to really step in, and there's going to be something that will give people a choice to play, especially at the upper level.
Okay. So I got one other question. He didn't. I get like personal like DM questions, whatever. It's like some people don't want to like be the one to ask the question, but I'll ask the question. I don't give a damn. So, what is one thing, if there's anything you can share, like bat market technology, whatever, that like the market might not know about? Can we leak anything now? Yeah, it's a tricky question, but like I said, I don't mind asking. And you can,
I appreciate that. There are some things that we are in the process of developing right now, and then there will be soon a change in where we're doing our production.
Okay.
And so when that happens, you're going to see a lot of stuff made in the USA. You're going to see us really make a run at baseball. Fast pitch is something we've gotten into. Baseball is on the horizon. We've got some. The thing about Carl is what people don't understand is just how freaking smart the dude is, but he doesn't put anything out that he doesn't believe is the best. So, for example, we kind of dipped our toes in senior. He's not happy with it, so it's like until we come out with a freaking lightning rod that lasts he says 300 swings, then we're going to keep going back to the drawing board. He's very big on integrity, but he patents everything he does.
I respect the hell out of like not just wanting to put something out there to have something out there. There's companies that will release a bat and you just want to look at that company and say, did you even try?
Yeah.
But they wanted to be in the space. Like, I respect the hell out of, we don't like it, we're not going to do it.
Well, the thing about the space is that you get one shot, right? So, and that first impression says a lot about everything that you're doing. So it's really hard to overcome a bad first impression, right?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, like I said, he has so many things coming down the pipeline. Like the MX technology is just the beginning, and there's a whole lot. I really can't discuss too much. I really would love to just
he said one thing, so
yeah, but there are some things coming down the pipeline. They're going to be game changing, and it's what's crazy. It's like, how do you get better at what you've already been good at in the ASA? And all I can say is just wait.
Okay, I'm here for that. Like, that we like teasers around here because it gets people talking.
Well, the thing about it is, if you're not evolving and getting better, then you're allowing the competition to catch up, creep up, and we're not going to do that. We're going to stay out in front. But he's very intelligent. He's got a lot of patents and things. And that's the thing. He won't mark something out without having everything dotted up. So when the time comes, it'll be worth the wait. But there are some game-changing technologies coming, and I'm super excited to be on the tip of the spear.
So maybe when that time comes, maybe we'll unveil some of that here.
I'll just make an appearance there in person.
Hey, wouldn't hate that either. We could definitely get that going.
Yeah.
Well, we could have Ross come out and let you guys battle out who can hit a ball further left-handed, and then
my brother from another mother.
Yeah, that's right. So he and I
don't know if you ever saw this or not, but we took a picture together, he and I, in 2018 at the Smoky, and then I did that like time forward lapse where we're old men.
Yeah,
and I kid you not, dude, we look the exact same at 70 as we do right now.
That's hilarious,
dude. Yeah, it's so good.
Dude, he's an absolute character, man. He cracks me up. I'm actually trying to get hooked up with him here soon. He's been, hanging out and hitting a lot with Orlando, and dude, the guy's a just donkey. I mean, just
yep.
There's not enough words you can just use to describe that giant of a human and the things that he can do to a softball. And I want to get him on the channel so bad. Here's what I hate. I hate when people say, oh, well, with a juice bat, anybody can do that. I literally want to hit a ball and then hand it to this dude and watch it go 200 feet further. That's what I want.
Dude, that's why it's almost comical. Like, I kind of play into it a little bit now. Have you ever watched Ryback, the guy that used to wrestle?
Maybe.
Okay, so he has this skit. It's like his tagline's "Feed me more." Like, he has this stuff. I'll send you a link to him. But
okay.
He does this thing where he's talking. He goes into like this quick little blip. He's like, "I'm freaking jacked," and so like I do this all the time because it's like I keep hearing like, "Well, you should be able to hit that ball. You're this, that, the other, blah blah blah." You can hit it with it. I don't know if you saw. I did the 2x4, the tree branch, the whole thing, the whole skit, because it's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to spin this. I'm annoyed, but I'm going to spin it. No, I can't hit it out with the 2x4. No, I can't hit it out with the tree branch. No, I can't hit it out with the broomstick. But I can hit it out with the softball bat.
Yeah, right.
And it's just like, all right, how do I turn this around so that I can make them the butt of the joke? But it gets old, because all I'm doing is my job to market and promote. And I understand I am in decent shape. I'm also old. Okay, guys, I'm freaking 48 years old. Right. So I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I got to take care of myself. And I shouldn't Cal's the same way. Like, he's freaking 59. Like, dude's gonna be playing 60s next year. He still hits the ball 400 feet. He should be discredited for taking care of himself and for training and it blows my mind. Like, people hate on the fact that he can hit a ball or I can hit a ball, this, that, the other, instead of appreciating like how hard it is to continue to maintain that level of performance all these years.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's okay. So there's two things that get me. One is when, it's been bad here lately. If anybody posts, a company will post something on social media of somebody hitting the ball, and the first thing they want to say is, oh, it's a loaded bat. And then somebody else wants to say, oh, it's steroids, this and this and that. And the channel of unpopular opinions, listen, I don't care how many needles you shove in your ass. Genuinely, I don't. If you want to be the guy that's the monster that like shadows the sun and all this other stuff, and you still want to go play softball, there's nothing that says you can't do that.
Right.
I personal opinion, that's how I feel about that stuff. Like, everybody wants to talk about asterisk, the steroid era of baseball. Like, without that, there would be no baseball.
Dude, how do we not crawl into that and take this another hour? But let me just caption that. Steroids save baseball, pure and simple, point blank. Baseball rode that story, rode that train. They knew, there's no way that they didn't know, and then they threw those guys under the bus to save face. It was a crime. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I've said enough.
Yeah, well, because then when you talk about Pete Rose, then everybody wants to talk about Ohtani and the mess he's got himself into. I don't know if you still follow baseball at all, but
yeah, I heard a little bit about it, man. It's a joke. It's all a freaking joke. Yeah. And they, like the whole, well, it was his agent or whatever they said it was. Sure, got it, whatever. Guess what? Baseball's still going to go on. These guys are still going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. And you know what? You people aren't that upset about it because guess what? You're going to keep buying tickets and keep watching it.
Yep.
Shut up.
Yeah. Exactly. Just because he's the face of the game. MLB made him the face of the game, and now he's in trouble. So now they got to try and save him. Like do what they did to all these guys that like you said, they knew what was going on in the locker rooms and wherever else.
100%.
But then 100%. To save face, they had to go make him all the bad guy. And then everybody's got their stories on. Why, and then all these guys are trying to explain why they did what they did. Like, I wish they would just be honest and say, we did it because we wanted to. We did it because we could. It's the same thing with...
I'll be the first one to admit, I take testosterone, as I mentioned it in the very beginning of this show. I take it in a very microdose and prescribed manner. I don't do bro science like some of these guys do. Have I ever done it before? Sure. It's dangerous. It's like playing Russian roulette. You don't know what you're doing, you know what you're putting into your body.
Yep.
And it could be detrimental. However, when done right and correctly, it's beneficial. And I don't take it so I could be the biggest dude on the freaking block. I'm not going to be. There's always going to be somebody bigger, badder, faster, stronger.
Yep.
I'm, again, cruising in on 50. My days of trying to be Billy Badass are done. I'm just trying to be healthy.
Yep.
Right. The reason I do hormone optimization is so that my body will heal faster, that I'll sleep better, that my body will recover
energy
quicker. I mean, injury prevention, all the things.
The energy is the big one. Just not feeling like a just hammered bag of shit after doing something the day before.
The brain fog that you get at 2 p.m. and you want to go take a nap after lunch. Like, all those things are telltale signs of low T. So it's beneficial, it's healthy, it's good for you, and I'll argue that with anybody.
Yeah.
But if you overdo something and you're taking 5 cc's of something to go play slow pitch softball, you should probably reevaluate what you're doing. You're not going to be around much longer.
You're right, and so that's the risk those people are willing to take. I guess so be it. But
it doesn't. You know what? I'm glad you said that. Here's my final piece of advice for young guys. This is the most important piece of advice I have too. And I don't know why I thought about it until just now, because I had this in my brain a while ago. But I'm the poster child for ADD, so buckle up. The most important advice I can give the young kids is that softball it's an amazing sport. It's been very good to me, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. It's not about so that I can be in front of people and watch me talk. It's about so that I can give back to a game and an industry that's been so good to me. And what I would tell these young guys is that it is a very small window. You have a very small amount of time to be impactful, to be relevant, or whatever it is you want to do. Eventually, the game will pass you by. You will get to a point where you're no longer going to be able to compete and play at the level you once were. Make the most out of it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the ride. Make friends. Make memories. Do the right thing.
Sure.
Don't burn bridges. Don't burn sponsors. And don't be a tool bag on and off the field. Be a good human being, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, nobody's going to give two craps about what you did on the softball field.
Right.
How many rings you won, how many names were on bats. None of that stuff's going to matter. It's not going to matter. What's going to matter is what did you do with the opportunities that were presented to you, and what do people remember of you?
Yep.
That's leave a legacy, leave a lasting memory. That's a good one. That's my advice.
Yeah, and just like you said, nobody cares about the things that you want if you acted a certain way. Like there's some people that most people know of. I'm not using words. I'm going to be very vague here, but very accomplished person that plays softball, has won a lot, but all anybody wants to talk about anytime that name comes up is how much of a douchebag they are. They don't care about what they
probably name that person without trying, but I won't.
Oh, there's a lot. I mean.
Yeah, there's several that fit in that category, and it's sad because this is a person or persons that could be very marketable, but because of their choices, they aren't. I would argue to say that guys who are great at softball aren't necessarily the guys whose name should be on bats, depending on the person that it is.
Also fair.
Because it could be a negative, it could be a negative marketing approach. And I think that guys who, the names on the bats thing is not, it's not what it once was.
No.
It used to be a pretty small and special, and now everybody's names are going on bats.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. It is what it is. Like, you got to do what you got to do to sell bats, and I get it. But not everybody who's great at softball is great for softball. You have to be better for the game than you are at the game to be impactful for the game.
That's why names used to end up on bats. Not because they wanted to come out with another model and didn't know what to call it.
Yeah. So, again, I can't emphasize enough, like, being good at softball is such a small matter in the grand scheme of things. If you can be good for the game, that's what's going to matter, because if you care about the game and you want to see it grow and evolve, then it shouldn't be about you. It should be about, paving the way and showing people, like I was shown, Helmer, Cornell, guys who brought me up and taught me how to be humble and taught me how to chew the dirt and grind, and then to give back. You see it all the time, like, especially when I grew up playing ball, like, the names, they didn't give back, man. They showed up, they got their envelope, they went to do whatever they went to do. They weren't approachable. They didn't hang around. They didn't do content. They didn't do these things that we're doing, podcasts,
sure,
etc. And that is so much more important than jacking home runs on the conference field that very few people are even paying attention to.
Yep. And it's being personable, like you said, like, yeah, I find myself doing the same thing. Like, I don't necessarily say, like, I show up to the ball field and want to be a douchebag, but, like, there's certainly been moments where I want to be, but I know that I can't. And, like, but you got to realize that stuff. Like, you're in the same boat. You're the face of a brand. I am, the face of my own brand, but, like, you are the face of a brand. Like, you can't go as much as you may want to. You can't do that. And, like,
no, you can't. And you got to know that people are waiting in line, waiting for you to trip up, waiting for you to slip up. I'll just go out there and say, as a Christian, and I'm unafraid, that I know people are waiting, just standing to watch a non-Christian moment for me to happen, and then be like,
got him.
He is human. Well, of course I'm human.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's like understanding what the platform is, your platform, what you're to do with it, to be a light, and not allowing, the haters and the people that aren't fans of you to sway how you do things. You just keep going about things the way that is best and what's going to be best for what you're doing and for the game. And, majority will appreciate that. And the very few people that don't, you can't worry about it, man.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. And you get the people that want to poke you and get a reaction out of you. And, like, I might say something snide, but then I'm done after that. Yeah. My something snide is usually probably going to be something about your mom or your wife. That's really all I got. I'm going to type my jab and I'm going to move on. Because I'm childish and, like, that's my way of getting back, because I'm not going to exchange words with you. That's what you want. So
they want to hook you. They want to hook you and reel you in. I'm
gonna take my childish jab and then I'm going to move on. It's not worth the argument.
I just smile at people, man. I just smile at them, and I'll just look at them and be like, "Man, you're so awesome. You're so good at softball," or whatever it is. I'm gonna tell them. And it just disarms them. Like, they can't even they want to be mad at you, but they can't, because you're complimenting them when they're being an absolute freaking tool bag.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, well, man, wish I was as good as you are. I told this one, he's this guy, like, I was like, people read things the wrong way sometimes. Tried to have fun with somebody and they just, like, took it completely the wrong way. So then there I am, just like, all right, well, I didn't realize we were going to be that serious about this. So then you find yourself trying to tiptoe out of that. But it, like, also people think, like, because you're a face of something, like, you got this arrogance about you. Like, if you could come talk to me, you'd realize that, like, that's not a thing at all.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Be approachable and then still, there's people that just make false assumptions, and there's nothing you can do about that. Yeah. I mean, like, you shouldn't have to go out of your way to walk up to somebody and be like, "Hey, I'm approachable. You can talk to me." Like,
right. No. Yeah. Because my wife's like, why don't you set up a booth and like say, hey, we'll be here hanging out. And it's like, if they should know, like I'm here hanging out already, like they should know they should come talk to me. You know,
Sure.
it shouldn't be a, you know, oh my gosh, he's there, we should go down there and catch him. No, you should know you can come to the field and talk to me. Like I've had people, like literally, some people don't know boundaries. Like, you know, my bag's sitting there with the top flipped open, and they're like pulling bats out. Like, what do you think of this one? I'm like, could you stay out of my bag, please?
Yeah, come on, you're crossing the line here, man.
Yeah, but you know, it's about being approachable and doing the right thing. Like I said, I made that guy mad with, you know, me trying to have a little fun with him, and then somebody told him like, hey, he's not that guy. You know, he's just trying to have fun with you. But it's also understanding what is perceived as some of that stuff. Real quick here, this question that just popped in. This is a good question. So when your manufacturing changes, I'm trying to change the subject here, squirrel. When you mentioned earlier that manufacturing might change, where that might be done at, will product prices change?
That's a great question. It really all depends. There's a lot of variables that would, I guess, weigh on that decision, and it all comes down to volume, right? So there's things called MOQs, minimum order quantities, and all factories run by that. So it really just comes down to the amount of volume. You know what's interesting is that softball, I think, is probably the only industry that hasn't experienced the inflation. It's like, as I was talking about earlier, I think I said, you know, it cost $11,000 more to feed a family of four than it did like a year ago. But, you know, softball bats have MSRP'd at $299 for the last 20 years. It's not gone up. It's, in fact,
right.
It's a joke, right? MAP pricing. Okay. 200 is the street price, right? It's like, It's always been that way. And the thing is, inevitably, things are going to have to go up no matter what, because, well, the cost of goods, the cost of marketing, the cost of fuel, the cost of logistics, all the things. But that's a good question. I don't feel comfortable saying no. You know, could it increase? Sure. Could it be the same? Possible. Just depends on volume and how much production we're running, and if it did go up, I mean, how much? Right? Like, is $10 too much to have a bat that's manufactured in the States and that you know is good and the quality control is good? Because, to be honest, like a lot of the stuff that's being manufactured overseas right now there's a very big discrepancy in consistency. You can get 10 bats from a company and have 10 different test results, 10 different compression readings, 10 different break-in periods. Like, it's really wild.
That's a problem.
The quality control overseas is very lacking. So to be able to have manufacturing where you can pull quick audits and do testing on the spot and have everything more consistent, it's huge. I remember working for Miken. I would go back there and they would be spooling these freaking composite strands together, and they're literally feeding the strands together and building these barrels, and then they would go through a machine. It would be red or green, and if it was green, it was within tolerance. If it was red, it was tossed out. So that was their way of QCing it before it was ever built. Like, it's within spec. Yeah, that's why all their bats, this is back in the 220 era, were so good. All of them were freaking good. You never had a dud, right? Yeah. So that's the difference, quality control. So, I mean, the answer to that question is it could go up, and it'd probably be worth it. Sure.
Like that, people losing their minds over like a small amount of money too. Like, say the price goes up $10, even $15. It's like, oh my God, freaking out. But like, at the end of the day, you're still going to pay that. So why are you complaining?
Dude, eggs have gone up 100%. The people are still buying them. If a softball bat went up $30 per, that would be a 10%, which is way under. That would be a 10% increase, which is way under inflation right now. Way under. Yep. People are so softball, man. It's the most goofy freaking industry because it's like champagne taste with a beer budget. I want the greatest bat ever, and I want to pay half price for it.
Yeah, it's not going to work like that.
People want it to work like that. If I could find a way to make it work like that, I would. But the reality of it is, it's not. So.
Right. Yeah. So, one other thought, and then we'll wrap this up here. I don't want to keep you all night. So, what's your thoughts on like dual stamps? You guys going to work on any dual stamps anytime soon?
Funny you say that. I just seen recently where a competitor dropped a dual stamp, and I don't know. I don't know that dual stamp makes sense this day and age. Not saying that it wouldn't. Now, I think where a dual stamp would make sense is if you're playing in a league that uses the hot dot and U-trip, and you play ASA, which already uses a 52. The only difference between those two balls is the 52-300 versus 52-275. Again, if you're using a hot dot or a 52, you want to use that ASA technology. So I think a dual stamp could make sense, provided it was as good, right?
Sure.
In the past, I used to remember years ago they had a salvo back in the day that was the dual stamp, and a few other bats maybe that were dual stamp. Boomba had one that was dual stamp. They weren't very good. They weren't very good for U-Trip. They were okay for ASA. So for me, it's like the way people are with bats. I mean, everybody's got 16 bats in their freaking bag this day and age. So I don't know that a dual stamp makes the most sense for the majority consumer. Now, it might fit a very small demographic, but I don't know that we'll go down that road.
Yeah. That's a slippery slope as well when you come to talking about guys with 16 different bats in their bags. Like, I got a lot of tangents I could go on here.
Well, this sport, it's an accessory sport. Always has been. It's a niche sport, or niche is what niche some people call it. But it's a swaggy sport, man. And part of playing this game is kind of like probably golf and fishing. You see fishermen, they'll have a freaking rod and reel for every occasion.
Oh, dude.
They got the stiff rod, they got the flip rod, they got the short rod, they got the jigging rod. They got 12 different rod and reels, but they fished all day and they used 2. So it's you gotta have a tool for every job, just in case. Just in case Ride home runs and the wind's blowing in from left to right and I'm feeling a little strong today, I need a 28-ounce balance.
Oh, yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Oh, well, I needed a base hit here. Like, nothing gets me more. Like, you were talking about earlier being a catcher and, kind of keeping hitters on their toes a little bit, you might say. Nothing gets me more than the guy that sees something unfold and then goes back to the dugout to get a different bat. I am letting the entire ballpark know that this guy, I won't say up to something like in a dirty way, but because there's certainly those too. But like, it's hey, this guy's switching bats. He's getting ready to do something wild here. Like he's changed his mind. He's doing some thinking. Whatever you want to say, the entire ballpark is going to know you just switched bats.
Yep. Got him in a blender.
Nothing gets me more than the guy that does that. And if there's anybody watching this that does that, don't do it.
Yeah, no, because you're just giving yourself away.
Yeah, 100%. Whether it's, you come out with a bat that I know is loaded, well, guess what? I know you're swinging for the fences. Here's your crap pitches to swing at, because you convince yourself you're going to swing at whatever I'm going to throw the second you got that bat out of your bag. So
my favorite thing to do in backyard tournaments when somebody would fuss about my bat is I would go into their dugout and just grab a random bat. The guy whose bat it is losing their mind, and he's in the outfield screaming, "You can't use my bat!" I'm like, "Watch me."
I'll be done with it in just a second.
Yeah.
Here, watch this ball go over your head, and I'll put it back.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, listen, 2 hours is enough of your time. We appreciate having you on.
Man, thank you. It's always fun catching up, chatting it up, and I'm happy to do this anytime, man. It's my way of giving back, and I really appreciate you having me on the show, and wish you continued success in everything you're doing. And thank you for continuing to do what you do, man. It's a hard job, and people understand what content looks like, how to splice, chop, and do all this video is very time consuming.
Sure.
Time away from your family, so I greatly appreciate and respect what you're doing, man.
Hey, we appreciate you guys too. You keeping the stuff coming for us and keeping the content fresh for us, and it helps a ton. We will definitely reconvene for a round 3. I've had a couple people here in the chat here asking about a round 3. We'll definitely have to reconvene.
Roger that. Means I'm doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you get that fresh news here, maybe something we can kind of leak or get something going, you just you give us a holler, and we'll be glad to have you back on.
I'll know how to find you.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we'll see you, man. Have a good night. We appreciate it.
All right, brother. You as well, man. Peace.
See you.